Hey everyone, welcome back to Poppin In with Alexa and Molly. I'm Molly.
And I'm Alexa. Sorry, I took a sip of my wine as soon as we did
Perfect
that.
timing.
Perfect timing. There we go. And we are here today with our special guest, Emily.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yay! We're here to talk all things pop culture, as always. But she is our One Direction aficionado. Here to talk about all things boy band, and also to discuss the sad passing of Liam Payne, who I know has kind of touched a lot of people and has been a huge topic in pop culture lately and just in general. But Emily, we're so happy to have you here. She's been our good friend for years. I don't know if you guys remember, but we were both at that New Year's party together when we all went to Greenleaf.
Oh.
And then there's
that was a night.
Yes, that was such a time.
So, that was like 3 years ago, maybe?
Was it?
About almost 3 years ago.
I think so, yeah.
It
It was
because
crazy.
I think it was New Year's going into 2022.
Yeah, I think
right?
so. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I think
Okay, so that would
because
sound
there's
right,
a
like 2
picture where
years
someone
ago.
has like a COVID mask tied into their hair.
Really?
Yes.
That's funny.
There's pictures?
Yes, it's a picture actually of you and my friend Little Emily, and you guys were like, let's take a picture of the Emilys, and one of you
Oh,
has a
that's
COVID
funny.
mask tied in your hair in the bathroom at Greenleaf.
Wow, I don't remember
Wait,
that
are you
at
in?
all.
So I have bathroom selfies from that night. The other Emily is.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest, and again, saying this for the World Wide Web, I was so drunk that night.
Oh
I
my
like
God, me
that was
too.
when I
Well-
looked at the photos and was like, oh, okay, that's what we
I-
did.
I'm
I
just now
had-
finding out there's photos.
I'm just now finding out you were there. Like, I don't re- but
Just, like,
it
all
was
sitting
because when
together.
you get like for green tea shots are my red flag.
Me too. But they're so good, I can't quit them.
They're so good. So the problem is when somebody offers them, I say yes, and
legally
that's when
obligated.
it's just like it's all downhill.
Two things about green tea shots. One, I started drinking actual green tea because I was like, well, these shots are so good, I can't imagine the real thing like must be phenomenal. And two, it makes me so mad when people are like, you didn't take it as a full shot. Why are you sipping it?
Yeah,
I'm here
'cause
to argue it's a
sickening.
cocktail.
Oh. I would die.
And like, I just enjoy the flavors. I want to make it last longer. Like, let me green tea me.
I like
Fair
that.
enough.
And that's a copywriter for you. Just kidding. I would get fired if I ever wrote. They'd be like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard." But anyways, yes. So we're excited to have you. I'm curious, like, to talk about One Direction a little bit. Like, what is your introduction to One Direction and like your fandom and the boy bandness of your youth?
Oh, wow. That's actually such a good question. So I think my earliest memory of fangirling over One Direction was because they were on the X Factor, but that was over in the UK, and obviously I didn't watch that. And, you know, we had, like, the internet at the time. Like, this was the precipice of, like, 2014 Tumblr, too. So everything was just, like, you're getting inundated with Twitter and that and just all over the place. And I think it was after they had won, and What Makes You Beautiful was, like, their first, like, #1 hit. And then I started seeing pictures of them on, like, Tumblr, and I was like, oh, I'm sold.
Okay.
And then so me and my best friend started, like, fangirling.
Yeah.
And it just kind of took off from there.
You know what? Actually, have you ever seen Bob's Burgers?
Yes.
Okay, because of what you just said and also like your general personality, you give me big Louise vibes. But
Thank you.
You're
I love her.
welcome. Yes, like I feel like you love a bit of chaos or whatever, but also like there's a whole episode where they have like this fake boy band come in, and her whole thing is like she's really young, so she's like on the precipice of puberty, so she's just like, I don't care about boy bands, and then she sees them and she's like, why am I obsessed? Like grabs her bunny ears or whatever, and I feel like that was you.
Yeah, because I think it was, like, for me, Justin Bieber was very much a phase. Because I think it was at that time, too, where he, like, first went to jail for something. And, of course, I was, like, this pure, holier-than-thou 8th grader. I was like, I can't like a man like that. And I was just, like, so put off by the idea of it. And then it was just, like, the perfect timing of, like, him going out of my life and then One Direction coming in.
Yeah.
Did you have like a favorite? Did you go in cycles of who your favorite was?
Okay, well, I love them all, like, equally for different reasons, but
Okay.
I was a Niall girl to my core because I had this crazy funny mindset where I was like, oh my god, he's just so different because he was the only one that was Irish.
Okay, can I tell you, I thought until literally I was in college his name was Neil. And I'm sorry for our one Irish listener.
We do have an Irish
Yeah, we
listener.
have one
Irish
Irish,
listener?
and I'm so sorry. I literally, when someone said Niall, I was like, who are you talking about?
Niall.
And then I was like, from the band? You mean Neil?
Wait, I'm
You
so
just
confused.
changed how you said it too. Originally you said Neil. Now
Was
it's
it-
Neil.
Like, y'all? I'm just kidding.
Was it like the 2 L's that threw you off?
I think it's the knee.
Neil?
All of it all, you know?
You just like were sounding it out. You were trying to keep it phonetic.
Yeah, and also like, I was not cultured at the time, you know,
funny.
like 18,
Niall, yeah.
or maybe I was 20, you know, I'll be honest.
It was 27?
Yeah, or it was last week. And I just was like, that's his name, Neil.
Wow.
Hey, Neil.
She's... Emily's just
like-
shaking right now.
Emily's like, I'm done actually, and I'm gonna
Like
leave.
this is where I excuse
You've
myself. Thank you
offended
so
my
much for having
culture.
me.
Yeah. But anyways, okay, so you were talking about your favorites. Okay.
Yeah, he was my favorite. I thought, oh my gosh, he's so different because he's Irish. Meanwhile, there's Zayn Malik, who's like a Muslim brown guy who's like open about being like in a completely different environment from like all these other boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Irish.
But I was like, but he's Irish. I blame my early introduction to Irishmen on Colin Farrell. And by way, my mother, because my mother definitely put me onto that.
We just had an episode called Farrell for Farrell,
Yeah.
because I went on like a full like hour-long tangent about how much I love Colin Farrell, so...
I thought you were gonna say
I'm
P.S. I
with
love
you.
you. Have you guys not seen that with Hilary Swank? It was a huge movie, like in the mid-2000s, where she marries an Irish man. It was like, I'm not crazy.
Who is
But
it?
that's
I think it's Gerard Butler, I think.
yeah, because he was also in 300.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
Scottish, though.
Yeah, I
But
was
he's
gonna say.
Irish in the movie.
Really?
Yeah, because she
never
has
seen
to
it.
go to Ireland and like it's a whole thing. And I remember being in middle school and being like, "Well, I'm marrying an Irish man. It's decided."
I do love Irishmen.
But now that I've said that I thought it was Neil, none of them
You
will
know what,
have
you're
me.
not...
Yeah, there's definitely, I think, too, like a renaissance almost of like
Yeah.
the Irish are like in
Taking
their
over.
bag right now in
Yeah.
terms of like mainstream.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go on a tangent about that.
I could talk about that for hours.
I know.
so...
I'm so sorry. I'm about to like completely go off track.
That's
but
okay.
Go ahead. I thought there was an Australian Renaissance for a while, but now we're definitely in our Irish days. Well, I mean, like it was like
No, it's
Australian,
true,
and
though.
then like I feel like it's Irish now.
And also, like, British men were a big thing. Like,
aren't they always?
They still
And
are. They still
aka
are.
like colonization, you know?
I would like to make the argument that it really took off because of One Direction. I'm being
Okay.
so serious because
Go
like
ahead. Bringing
before
it back.
that too,
Look at
like
you.
maybe it's also because I was like in the 8th grade, but
Okay.
I just don't recall like really fawning over and like being aware of too much like pop culture from the UK and Ireland growing up, except for like Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging. With
Okay,
Aaron-
I love
Was
that.
it Aaron Taylor?
I don't know.
I don't know. The one that's dating a grandma or married to
Oh,
a grandma.
it's Aaron...
Everyone wants them to get divorced.
I know, Sam... Her name is Sam something.
Oh,
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah.
He's got like 3
Oh,
first
okay.
names.
Okay,
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, so I'm curious, like, you said you have, like, some really fond memories of One Direction. Like, what, is it just because they were hot,
How,
or,
how
like,
far did your fandom go?
Yeah,
Is
okay,
what I
so-
wanna know.
were you writing letters?
No, okay. I was
stalking?
definitely not doing that. I definitely begged my mother for tickets and she said no. And I tried to pull that card like R.I.P. Liam Payne and I was like, how do you feel knowing now I'll never see all of them together? And she was like,
Oh my
Emily, she was
God.
like, Emily, get a grip. You are in your late 20s. Like,
Yeah.
get it together. You're fine. She's like,
Yeah.
look, you lived. You made it this far. You're good.
Yeah,
but,
she's like, we've done enough for you.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think because it was also like 8th grade going into like my freshman year of high school, that's when they were like blowing up. And then of course I had access to Tumblr and, you know, the girls went crazy on, because that was like when Tumblr was the Wild West.
Yeah.
It was like the golden era of Tumblr. And I think
That's when
honestly,
they still had porn.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that the fact that I had like open access to that on top of One Direction like Wattpad fan fiction
Yeah.
permanently altered my brain chemistry.
So
I
did
believe
you,
that.
because I keep seeing these now, did you do those, like, Imagine things? Do you know what I'm talking
Oh my God.
about? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Wait, what are you?
Listen,
need to
I
know.
never
It's
like
so
wrote
funny.
them, but I
They're
because it's like what you were
entertaining.
saying about Louise and Bob's Burgers about
Okay.
like a prepubescent girl being like, wait, why do I find these boys cute? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's honestly a pretty like accurate way of kind of
Interesting.
my like timeline lining up with like becoming obsessed with them.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I can't even talk, generationally, there's always like that boy band. Like
Yeah.
my mom had like Duran Duran, and then
Yeah.
you know there's like New Kids on the Block, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, and
Frankie
just, like,
Valley.
Brothers. Frankie
and
the Beatles.
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
The Beatles, like
the
the OGs.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but
But
I would've
I'm
been
curious.
obsessed
I
with
was actually like, as you were talking, I was just thinking like, what distincts like a boy band from a band of boys, a band of
Oh.
brothers.
Wait,
A
talk
band
about
of
the
brothers.
Imagine. Okay, this is really funny.
okay,
though.
the Imagines. Okay, because this also ties
Okay,
into
yeah,
like
what-
the Watt.
what are you guys
this
talking
is the
about?
Wattpad
Yeah.
fanfic. So like, I never wrote anything. Shout out to the creative girlies because I mean, I read them. I ate them up, and like honestly, looking back, it was probably some of like the worst writing. But you know, it's like
Yeah, it's like
It's fun.
teenage girls
Yeah.
doing their thing, and they would have like Y/N for your name. And I think there was like this one super unhinged one that like a lot of One Direction fans know about called like Kidnapped by
Yes.
One Direction. And I was
their moms
What
sold,
in
no,
the
or their
world?
moms sold them to
Yes,
One
a
Direction.
sold to One
so these
Direction.
girls think like are
Oh my
imagining
God.
like they're fantasizing about being sold to the boys, and they
As-
now belong, and they're fighting over it. She now
there's
belongs to them.
Yes, there were so many traits
That's
throughout like
crazy.
all of the different fanfics that like looking back are so funny. Like they would always describe like, you know, Niall's blue orbs or like Harry's green orbs.
But the thing is, like, that sounds crazy, but also I think about me in 8th grade and the things, like, I was writing it into, and I'm like, that's what 8th grade girls are like, yeah, I want to be captured by a vampire and, like, live with him while
Oh,
he
for
watches me
sure.
sleep.
Because
On
I
the,
think
like on
Sorry,
the thing.
go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say like on the thing of like Gerard Butler. I was obsessed with Gerard. I wanted him. I wanted the Phantom of the Opera to like kidnap me. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Wait, that was
I-
him?
Yeah.
Literally.
I did not. I'm not a
I went
theater
through a
girly.
Gerard
I'm
Butler phase.
shocked.
I think I've
An
said this on the
intense one.
podcast before. I thought Rupert Grint was my soulmate because we have the same exact birthday, to the point where like I would count the hours of like we're sharing the same birthday because he was in the UK. I would sit there in my class and I'd be like, wow, this sucks. I can't imagine what it's going to be like when Rupert Grint comes for me one day and takes me away. And it's like,
When he comes for you?
yes, like he comes and like sweeps me
Takes
off
you
me.
away.
Kidnapped by
Aw.
Rupert Grint. That's definitely a fanfic somewhere.
Yes,
Guarantee it.
that
It's
absolutely-
just
Written by
Wattpad.
Alexa.
Seriously,
Yeah, by
her burner
Alexa.
account.
Alexa Dorn. So like it's interesting, like fanfic is so cringe, but also like the thing I actually really love, like this sounds like weird and I don't mean it in like a weird way, but like teenage girl fanfic is great because it's like they're so passionate about this thing. They're like, sell me to One Direction. I don't need my life anymore.
I think One Direction fanfic brought more creative writing out of 14-year-old girls than like any creative writing class ever could.
Yeah, I believe
We
that.
don't need to read A Tale of Two Cities. Get them
We need
into
to
writing.
read YN.
100%.
Yes.
Or about no, because people always joke about like when it's like the girl finds out she's being sold to One Direction. They're like her boobs bounce boobily down the stairs,
was such
and she's
bad
always wearing
writing.
like Converse and like her hair's in a ponytail.
Oh my
Like
God.
it's always like a
Yeah.
specific.
Or like a high bun, a high messy bun.
Yes, a high messy. Like I was never into One Direction, but like I see all these, especially in the last like couple weeks. I've been seeing all these and like the Imagines. People created. Remember Polyvore, like the outfits.
I'm so glad you
What?
brought that up because I was
Yeah.
literally just thinking about that. They'd be like, movie date with the boys, and it's like stilettos and leggings is a crazy combination.
created
Because you remember
outfits.
Winello? There was like the selling site. I think it was like basically early TikTok shop.
Okay.
When like all the
Wait,
really
what name did you say
it was
it was?
Winello, like
Oh, that
W-A-N-E-L-O.
that sounds
Okay,
familiar,
yeah.
I never actually bought anything off there, but that's where like people would pull images from, and it would be like those really ugly like razorback tanks. That was like
Yeah.
the chevron,
Yeah.
and just
But the
like
thing is-
very
But at the time, those hit.
2012,
Yeah.
Yes,
like
everything comes
ugly
back.
clothing.
That's why like we're seeing Y2K. By the time we all have like children and stuff, they're gonna be like, look at my bright purple leggings that I wear to school every
I
day
am
with
scared. I'm fine with early.
Vans.
Like I would love for Juicy Couture sweats to come back. For some reason,
my
I
God,
would
yeah.
love that.
For
But the
sure.
idea of like 2012 fashion to come back is like gross to me. Like
I'm-
skinny
it
jeans,
makes me anxious.
like
Peplum tops, no thank you.
my yeah.
low
Why
rise
why
never
were we
again.
always dressed to go to the office? You know what I mean?
Why were girls in casual office attire like going to the club?
Yeah.
I say that like I wasn't literally 14. I was not at the club.
I
was
I
at home.
wish.
I was at home reading One Direction fanfic. But
My freshman year of college, I look at the outfits I wore. I'm like, am I going to my internship or a basement at a frat house? who knows? These pictures, they're ambiguous. You wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah, they basically were like, you got to be prepared for anything.
Yeah. But I do think, like, One Direction fashion, like, when I think of One Direction, I think of, like, I think maybe it's, like, their first album cover where it's, like, all the boys, they've got their arms around each other and they're like, smiling together and they've got the swoop hair.
Yeah.
They look like a Hollister ad.
Yes, they're, like, wearing Vans and stuff. They look like a Hollister ad, but, like, for children. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, I feel like Hollister was, like, oh, like, there's abs and stuff. And, like, I feel like One Direction was kind of like, yeah, we're a little bit prepubescent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of like, I get what you're saying, too, because I remember, too, like, with most bands, you know, they go through that iteration where, like, their wardrobe changes and, like, their style changes and, like, maybe management wants to try something new or they're just, like, simply getting older. But I remember with One Direction, too, it was the classic, like, Louis always had, like, red skinny jeans and, like, a blue and white striped top and, like, what was the brand? Jack Willis, which was, like, a UK-based brand. Like, they made that, like, super popular over here for a brief time. And girls are like, I need that hoodie because Harry has that hoodie.
I believe it. And then, like, do you guys remember the black belt that would always have, like, the fake metallic studs on it that guys would wear with, like, the Vans that have no soul to them whatsoever? Like, that is why I have back problems to this day and the fact that I sit at a computer every day. But I just think, like, it's so interesting to, like you said, like, think about, like, we all have a boy band, you know? Yeah. Mine was All American Rejects. I was like, that guy looks like he's on death's door, and I would fuck him, you know? Yeah. Like, I was like, I absolutely loved that. And so, but that's why, like, I think I was a little bit too old for One Direction, but, like, I was friends with people who were into One Direction. And I remember, like, almost thinking of it as, like, a cultural study where I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. Onto my, like, punk band that is, like, basically the same thing, but they just, you know, are on probably, like, different drugs.
How did you feel when they did, like, eventually split up and they went into their solo careers? Oh, well, first of all, that, like, how did you feel about that? But then also, how did you feel about, would you say that Harry is, like, the most successful of all of them?
I think, like, objectively, like, if you just straight up stopped following what any of them were doing and you just, like, kind of, you know, when you get, like, randomly inundated with, like, pop culture and media, just, like, normally scrolling, like, Harry Styles is, like, very pervasive.
Right.
Like, and don't get me wrong, they've all had, like, pretty successful solo careers for the most part, and I think, like, Zayn, like, he chose to kind of, like, go underground for a bit, because, you know, they were young when they started out, and you're suddenly getting thrown into, like, the public eye on, like, a global scale. That's, I'm sure, a lot to take on, but Harry definitely, like, it's kind of always like that, though. You have, like, the Beyonce of Destiny's Child, the Justin Timberlake of NSYNC. Like, he just happened to be the one that really just, like, took off with a solo career.
This is going to be a stupid question. Please don't stab me. So it's Harry, Zayn, Liam, Niall.
Y'all.
Am I forgetting something? Louis. Yes. Okay.
I also was like, I always forget about Louis, so that's why I was like, Louis.
Like, where are they now? But also, like, and we've talked about this in the podcast before, I think, like, no one should be as famous as they were that young.
How old were they? I actually don't know.
I think Liam was the oldest, and he was, like, 18, I want to say.
So they were teenagers.
They were very young. He was technically the oldest, because I think, if I'm remembering this correctly, please feel free to fact check me, I think Liam had actually tried out or auditioned for X Factor twice. And that was his second time around. And then they decide to, like, just take them all and throw them together. And I think the youngest might have been, like, 16, 17. But they were teenage boys.
We always talk about Justin Bieber and, like, his situation. And he should not, like, being that famous, being, like, a cultural zeitgeist, like, that young is not good. And I guess, like, it's kind of the same with them. And it's probably why they, you know...
18, yes, technically legally an adult, but, like, still so young.
Can you imagine being...
Definitely.
And I know, like, with Liam's passing, like, a lot of people have come for Simon Cowell recently because, like, they've said he's basically just kind of, like... People have said, and I'm really paraphrasing here, but, like, that he's kind of a monster and, like, the musicians he creates, like, especially with One Direction where, you know, I think with... people have said, like, I think, like, his... God, don't fact check me on this, but it's like his sister or one of his close friends or someone said, you know, that that Simon and, like, his just industry of pumping out artists are horrible because it basically took Liam away from, like, the joy of, like, artist creation of music and also, like, separated him from, like, his friends and family a lot. Like, a lot of times, like, I think it was his sister saying that when they would get together as a family, like, they wouldn't really take photos because they didn't want him to feel like it was, like, a thing, like, oh, we're taking photos.
Yeah, that's so sad,
Yeah.
too.
But was that just, I mean, because he worked with all of them, not just Liam.
Yeah.
So, like, I do think, you probably know more about him than I ever would, but, like, he may have struggled with things kind of on his own as well. Like, I wouldn't just blame Simon Cowell for that, you know?
I think, too, like, and maybe it's going back to the fact that he had auditioned for, like, a second time, and he was the older boy. Mm-hmm. So there was kind of this idea of, like, I think this might also just be hearsay amongst, like, fans, where they kind of pitched it to him where it's like, hey, we're going to base this around you. And so when you're thinking, okay, like, cool, I'm going to be in a group, but it's going to still, like, again, like, the Beyonce of the group, like, you're going to be the one that gets, like, more solos and, like, that sort of thing. And then you have these, like, partners that end up just outshining you.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you know, I think that would throw you off a bit.
Yeah.
Because you think, okay, I'm finally getting my big break. It's not exactly looking like what I thought it would, but it's still something, and it's going to, like, pan out to be what I think it is, and then kind of being like, whoa. And then when they decided to split up, and all of a sudden, like, that's what you've really been banking on the last, you know, 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of, you know, you're going nonstop, and then just nothing.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, now I have to pivot and reshift my entire career.
And I think that's, again, like, why it's really tough for, like, people who are as young as they are, is because, like, especially, I think, like, the industry is maybe a little bit better about it now, but, like, those young kids, like, listening to the Demi Lovato Child Star doc, like, she was just, like, there was a time where it was, like, 4 months where I didn't have a day off.
Yeah.
You know, like, you never get a break. They're constantly working. If you're not performing, you're doing interviews. If you're not doing interviews, then you're doing a photo shoot. If you're not doing, like, you know what I mean? And so I think, like, part of that, it's not Simon Cowell's, like, all his responsibility, but I think part of that is holding the music industry accountable. The same thing with, like, the film industry, of, like, protecting the artists, of being like, hey, you know, we have to give them a break, or we have to, I forget who it was, but there's, like, an agent who he's like, we need to have, like, mental health counseling for these people, because, like, what they're going through is very unique and a lot of pressure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, too, when you have the discussion of kind of mental health, there are certain things that don't really, you know, for, like, lack of a better way to phrase it, kind of rear their ugly head once you are, like, in your early 20s. And especially when you are this, like, young symbol, and, you know, even though you might be, like, quote-unquote underage, you know, you're getting into, like, certain environments, like, you know, where there's a lot of drinking and, like, substances you're being introduced to that, like, normally you wouldn't necessarily be introduced to when you're just, like, a regular 18-year-old.
Yeah, because I think people, like, when people in the industry, like, they meet you and you're famous, and they just treat you like an adult, but you're not an adult.
Right.
You know? And I think, like, so to get into kind of the death part of it, so Liam Payne passed away earlier, I guess it was, like, a week and a half ago now.
I think it was last Wednesday when the news broke.
Okay, so a week.
Yeah,
a week ago. And he, again, this is a trigger warning for substance abuse and general abuse, but he had fallen from the 3rd floor story of his hotel. And I think, like, you know, you can go online and you can find all the stuff about, like, was he on drugs? Was he on whatever? I think he, you know, was suffering from a lot of things that I think people in just, like, the industry of fame were suffering from. But I think, like, people's response to it is very interesting, because I think, like, people have gone, like, multiple ways. But what I thought was shocking, and I really, like, you know, Molly, you have a master's in journalism, so I'm curious your perspective, but, like, TMZ posted an image of his body before they had even confirmed the death.
Yeah.
And I think it was his sister who said, like, she found out that he had died, like, by, like, an alert on her phone.
Yeah.
And I think that is actually, like, they ended up taking the photo down, but I think it's actually,
it reminds
like,
me
repulsive.
of remember Kobe, when Kobe died?
Yeah.
I think his wife found out about her daughter and her husband dying through TMZ.
And why it's always TMZ.
Always.
Yeah.
They must have a crazy legal team, because I'm like,
I know
the amount of, like, lawsuits they probably have. But it's just, like, the thing is, like, as a journalist, you know, there were times where it's like, hey, you know this information, but, like, the police have not contacted the family yet. Like, they will let you know immediately when they contact it, because, yes, you do want to be the first. You want to, like, quote unquote, get the scoop, which sounds horrible when it's, like, someone's death. But also, like, you have to be a person first, you know?
Yeah. And also, sometimes I think, like, you do have to ask yourself the question of, like, so the photos, for example, they had the photos. There was a video circulating. I never could fact check whether that video was actually real. A video of somebody falling from, I don't know if that was really him. I saw it like multiple times, but I don't know if that was like real. But the photos at least were. And I mean, I think it's just one of those things where it's like, does this serve any purpose? Like, do photos of his, you know, tattoos of his body, like, does that serve any purpose to anybody? And if not, then like, no, I don't think it needs to be.
And their whole thing was like, oh, we didn't show his face. Like, all you could see was, like, his tattoos. But it's like, okay, well,
right, but why would that even...
extremely famous. Like, people are going to be like, that's him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm curious, like, how has, like, Liam's death affected you as, like, a long-term fan?
Well, I think it's kind of weird because, like, obviously, kind of going back to what we were saying about, like, the solo careers and stuff taking off, like, they're all obviously kind of doing their own thing and, like, in a different capacity. Which the messed up thing is, like, he was in Argentina because he went to one of Niall's shows, which is so sad.
I don't think I knew that.
But I think, too, it's kind of one of those things where, obviously, like, once they split up, you know, and everything kind of died down, like, it's not the same, like, I think as a fan, you know, you're used to it being, like, that core unit of people, and now you're trying to keep up with all of them, like, at a different time. And, like, I grew up, you know, other things happen, I find other things to, like, hyperfixate on. I think what the weird thing was, it was kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, this is, like, my generation's boy band, and this isn't news I should be hearing until, like, I'm maybe 60.
Yeah.
You know? I'm, like, in my late 20s, and here I'm like, whoa, that's just so weird, because they're not that much older than me.
Yeah.
They're all in, like, their early 30s.
33?
He was 31?
31?
I want to say he was 31. I could be wrong, but I'm really not good with numbers, so... But, yeah, it was just really crazy to hear, because it's also one of those things, too, where... Because, like, the Daily Mail is, like, just, like, TMZ, they're just basically cesspools, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know? I love them for, like, certain paparazzi photos of, like, you know, okay, you have, like, new pictures of Harry Styles on a yacht. Yeah, I'm down. Okay, but otherwise, I'm like, okay, this is just, like, gross, and it's kind of, you know, like, grifter-ish.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that they're, like, usually right about, like, the, like, whatever it is,
that's the thing. It's, like, if TMZ is reporting on it, like, it's like it's true usually,
which is
but the writing is awful. Have you ever actually read an article and like how it's written? It's like could be they just pull somebody off the street to like write these articles. It's crazy.
Yeah, I believe it. Do they still have the TMZ show? I would imagine.
I don't know.
I think they do because I have a
sometimes
smart TV, and sometimes it like automatically goes to like that channel, and I'm like, okay, I can't stand these two. Like, you're gonna ruin my day. Like, I'm just next.
It was when I was younger. I found it entertaining for some reason.
I would love a documentary.
Because I think it is so
on
much
TV.
like celebrity culture.
Yeah,
you're like, oh,
so that's why I guess I do. I do now, but
I would love a documentary in like 20 years on TMZ, but I just again can't imagine like being the person who wrote that article, and who knows, like they maybe weren't the one who was like, oh, let's publish it. Like it was probably like their editor, their publisher, or whatever, but just like knowing like, oh, like that's how certain people who were close to him like found out that he was dead. Like that's
horrifying.
That's such an
horrible
awful thing.
And like how can they truly like live with themselves for that? You know, like I wonder if they care. It's just like any paparazzi, really.
Yeah,
I think too, like they were trying to make the justification that what they did originally share was okay because it was like you were saying, it was like just, you know, his arms and his legs and like tattoos and stuff. I'm like, still.
Well, but again, it's like, what purpose did it serve? Yeah. Because, like, we know he died. I don't know. Like, it's we don't really show dead bodies when we report on...
Right.
Like, or in general, I'm saying, like, when people report on somebody dying, you know, you don't normally show a dead body. So it's just, like, super weird that they did that.
That's, like, the same thing, I think, we talked about, like, when the guy who shot Trump's ear, and they showed, I forget what website it was, they showed his, like, dead body, and then they put a red circle around it. It's like, okay, we didn't really need the red circle. Yeah, we got it. But also, I'm like, why are you showing, like, this just, like, usually Google is good about being like, do you want to view this image?
Oh, yeah.
Actually, they're not good about it because usually it's just, like, a, like, random image, and then the absolutely absurd things, they don't filter at all. Yeah. But I just was, like, shocked. I was like, I can't believe, like, even if they had already announced that he had died, I still don't think they should post a photo of his dead body.
Right.
Like, I just don't, like, what is the purpose of that?
I think that also kind of goes into, like, the way, like, you know, the whole conversation surrounding parasocial relationships with celebrities and, like, this, like, clear lack of boundary between
Yeah.
like the media and fans and celebrities. Like, I think now there's starting to be like a lot of pushback. Like, you have Chappell Roan, like, kind of saying like, don't come up to me and like, you know, basically don't stalk my family, which I think is a totally valid thing to say.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of like plays into it though, because especially because they were so young when they were like catapulted into global success. And again, like that's when social media was like really big between like Tumblr, Twitter, and all that. People just feel like they have this like unrestricted access to it. I'm like, that was still somebody's son.
Yeah.
Is somebody's son. That's
Right.
somebody's father.
Yeah.
And now a little 7-year-old boy doesn't have a dad, and his mom probably found out through like TMZ.
Yeah.
Which is just awful.
Did you see that the dad was going into the hotel, I guess, where he died, so he was coming back,
Oh my gosh,
he was going, and obviously a ton, like, he's being swarmed by cameras, paparazzi, and, like, a bunch of fans are there, and they're literally they were all covering the cameras to, like, help, like, let the dad go in, which is very nice, I guess, like, in that's where it, like, the fans, I think, serve a nice purpose, like, of their, where it's, like, I agree with you, there is, like, this weird thing where it's, like, they think that they're close to them, they think they know them, but then it's like, well, they do nice, if they are doing a nice thing, I guess that's, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting when you think of, like, the way, like, young boys might obsess over, let's say, like, Britney Spears or whatever, where she gets, like, hypersexualized or whatever. I think One Direction was also hypersexualized but in a different way.
Oh my gosh.
But I think, like, it's interesting, like, the way that young girls, having been one myself, like, obsess over things is very, like, can be very intrusive because you think, like, this is my band. Like, that's my person, you know?
It's why it'd be so scary to date a famous, like to be one of the people that dates any of those guys, because like they're just being torn apart on the internet by these like weird little 13-year-olds. Like,
I will say, and this was just like from what I noticed, like being like a One Direction fan, like the boys when they did have girlfriends, like the fans like stand immediately. They're like, oh my god, we like love Eleanor and like we love Danielle and like Perry and whoever the boys were dating, and they're like, oh, like kind of going back to like the outfits for like, oh, like movies with Niall. It would be like coffee with Eleanor or whatever. I'm like, okay, that is a little bit like unhinged in a wholesome way in a certain capacity.
Yeah, it's like creepy.
Yeah.
But kind of too what you were saying about they were like hypersexualized in such a way, and like the way that girls become obsessed. I think too, like they're a good example of like, you know how like everyone had like a Jonas brother they gravitated towards.
Yeah.
I think too, like it was how they were marketed to these girls. So they played up certain things that might have like shown up in their personality. So like Zayn was the bad boy, Liam was like the older, like level-headed, responsible one, Louis was the prankster, the joker, Harry was the womanizer, Niall was just the
Harry was the
boy next door.
womanizer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because then he ended up dating like older women, which
Right.
everyone at the end of the day like tried to make it seem like, oh, he's like again like a womanizer. I'm like, okay, but like that woman was like almost 20 years his senior, which I could be wrong about that, but I was like, they dated like some older women and like
which is like
grossly inappropriate in
that
my
movie.
opinion.
The Idea of You that came out with Anne Hathaway is basically based on like essentially kind of fan fiction where the author was like, oh, I have a crush on Harry Styles. I will say it was a good movie.
Well, and I think you were saying really because I think your vision of Harry Styles is probably what he is, how he is
true.
now. But I think back then he was, you know, I think now he experiments more with like certain fashions and kind of, you know, but yeah, then he was like definitely like the.
Yeah.
I feel like that he was the one that I feel like most of the girls were obsessed with.
There was another fan fiction that I'm so glad you brought it up. I forget what it was, but they made like 3 Netflix movies about it, and it's kicking me that I cannot remember the name of it, but that was based, like basically it was like a fanfic about Harry Styles, but the weird thing is like the woman when she wrote it was like almost 30, like in her 30s, so it was like really weird that she was writing that about like a 17, 18-year-old boy.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is, but
I remember there being one that was like about a Harry Styles one, but I didn't know there were 3 of them.
It was like After or something. I remember like the boy obviously had a British accent.
Yeah.
And then the girl did not. She's like an American, and oh my god, I cannot remember the name of it to save my life.
The boy was named Barry Biles.
After we collided.
That's it.
After we fell.
They're so bad. The movies are so bad. But like they're kind of like a cringe watch, but you're like, okay, but if you knew the OG fan fiction, you're like, okay, this is great. Like, this is Harry Styles. Like, I'm just gonna picture it, and it's gonna make everything better. But
I love
still like very cringy.
But like
very bad writing.
To go to like their girlfriends. So I know like Liam Payne, his ex, Maya Henry, it's been a whole thing because she basically, I think it was like a week before his death, ordered a cease and desist. Cease and desist, thank you, against him because I think she had claimed that he had been harassing her or whatever. But she actually has a fiction book coming out called Looking Forward, which she says is like inspired by true events based on her relationship with Liam. And in the book,
Awkward
apparently, awkward timing for her to make the cease and desist. But apparently, there is a scene in the book where the protagonist's boyfriend threatens to jump off of a balcony during a drug-fueled breakdown.
What?
Yeah, which is crazy. And I think there was something, and again, fact check me on this, but I think there was something where it was like, he had texted her or something saying that he was going to do that.
So basically, I think Maya Henry was a fan. Mm-hmm. And they ended up, because she comes from money.
Oh,
in
interesting.
like Texas. And I still don't know what her parents do, but she ended up basically living out
they sold her
fangirl's dream. God, a girl can dream, you know? But basically I think got together like right before COVID. They dated off and on for 2 or 3 years, and it was pretty tumultuous, because he was also like fairly older than her. I think she's only maybe 25 now.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, still, like, not, like, a huge age gap, but when you're in your early 20s dating a dude that's almost 30, like, it is still
two different stages of life.
Absolutely, especially when you're a world-famous member of, like, one of the biggest boy bands in history. But she's, like, gone on record saying, like, he won't stop calling me, like, I block his number, he calls me or, like, contacts me from someone else's number, and, like, other, like, iMessage accounts or iCloud accounts, like all this stuff, and like she's just gone on record and said it in the past, and I think it just came to a head too because there are rumors that basically when she was coming out with this book, and it's alleged that some of it, if not all of it, is about her relationship with Liam Payne, which I guess trigger warning, like there are accounts where, and feel free to fact check me on this, like being chased with like either like a knife or an axe at some point, and like forced to get an abortion, like really like very dark stuff, to put it lightly. And basically kind of what you were saying, he was like, you know, if something happens to me, like everyone's gonna blame you. And so I think kind of like what you were saying, Molly, the timing could not have been worse for her.
Yeah.
Because imagine too, like, even if it's a really toxic situation, I think for a lot of like victims, there's still like that part that's you know, you still remember briefly like the good times, so you're kind of like, there's that sympathy.
That's someone. It's probably someone who you've gone through a lot with, because the thing about like toxic relationships is people do like to focus on the toxic parts, but it's like there's probably a lot of good parts too.
It's so complicated.
Yeah,
it's just not that easy. One thing I'll say for her though is when she was writing the book and when she was expecting it to be published, I mean, she was going to do that. A lot of the time people wait till someone died or has been canceled to make statements like that, and you know, I don't judge that because there's reasons for that as well, but I will say like she was going to do it while he was still alive, and I think that's something that she wasn't going to try to hide, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like sometimes people wait for the opportune moment to like where they kind of feel safe to do it, and she was just going to do it.
Yeah. And I think like I think some of the fans have maybe like not come at her, but like not obviously taken it well. And the thing is, I think you can mourn a person while understanding that people are very complicated. And I don't think like he was inherently good or bad probably, but I think like, again, a product of a flawed system also, and that, you know, maybe he did do these things. Maybe he was a good
him too. Like
maybe he was a good dad and a good friend. Maybe he was sometimes like, you know, I'm sure they had high points in their relationship or whatever, but that also means like a person, you have to mourn the person as a whole, and that doesn't mean like ignoring all of their flaws either.
Right. Because I think too, part of it is like, again, like we think we know these people and we simply just, we don't.
Yeah,
we don't know what went on behind closed doors, and you know, because he is such a public figure, like maybe there is that opportunity for some people to, you know, not saying like what she's saying is not true, but it's also like, okay, so either people are going to take it and run with it and accept it as fact, or, you know, it could go either way.
Yeah.
Either way, like, ideally, like, I would want it to not be true because nobody should have to go through something like that.
Yeah.
But also, like, we just don't know.
Yeah.
We're never gonna know. Like, we aren't her, we aren't, like, him, anyone, like, close to him, like, because at the end of the day, like, they're just people.
Yeah,
they really are. They just happen to be super well known for, you know, being a singer or a musician, what have you. Not to be like, it's literally just some guy, but it, like, you just don't know.
It could have been, it could have been just some guy. He just happened to be famous. He happened to get famous, and
that's why, like,
everything.
We've talked about this on the podcast before, but I always, like, hesitate to put, like, famous people on a pedestal.
For sure.
Because I understand, like, being a fan of, like, their music or their, like, movies or whatever, but you also have to, like, recognize, like, they can do wrong. Like, famous people, as we know, are, like, can do wrong things, and that doesn't mean you can't like them for their work. You can't, you know, but you just have to be willing to understand that and, like, see the other side of things. I think is interesting.
Speaking of his music, though, have you seen, this isn't funny in any way, but it does make me, whenever I see it, it does make me chuckle a little bit, but, like, the what do you call those, like, when people stand around, like, not a shrine, but, like, where people are honoring him, like a big
memorial?
thing of a memorial, like, of his fans.
Yeah.
And, like, I've seen videos where, because one of his songs is Strip That Down.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're singing, and they're very sad.
And they're just
but
sobbing.
They're like, strip that down for me. Put your hands on my butt. And it's like...
Oh, he did that song?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
I'm just trying to picture some, like, random woman my age, like, sobbing, doing, like, the Quavo callback bits in the background to that song. Oh, my gosh.
It's, like, not funny at all, but whenever those show up on TikTok, like, I do kind of get the giggles, because it's just, like, imagine, like... You know, it's not, like, some, like, really heartfelt, beautiful song. It's, like, strip that down.
And that's the thing, too, because I think anytime, especially now with, like, celebrity deaths, there's, like, people that are like, oh, it's literally just a person, or, like, they don't really accept them as real people because they have that celebrity status. Like, they immediately start cracking jokes. And then some people, you know, because everyone deals with, like, grief differently, some of the ones I've seen that are, like, more lighthearted, they're like, R.I.P. to these sick dance moves, and it's, like, him just doing his own choreography, and I'm like, that's so bad, but you know what? It's okay. So like, we can laugh about it, because there's a lot worse things that people are saying on the internet right now.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And he actually has a song that they're releasing Friday posthumously called Do No Wrong. And I think he was in the process of recording and creating it, and I forget the name of his, like, co-creator, but he was like, I'm going to release this for the fans because I think, like, it'll bring people joy or whatever. So I am curious to, like, hear people's reaction to that song, but it won't be out till Friday, so. Also, I just realized, I think I said at the beginning of this that today's Wednesday. Today's Tuesday.
Yes.
I have thought today was Wednesday this whole time.
Yeah, I've thought, I actually don't know what day we're on.
I keep thinking tomorrow's Halloween.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, I was like, wow, it's been such a long week, like, work week wise.
Doesn't it feel like that?
It feels like it's been a long.
It has.
Which that's just, like, setting up the rest of the week. Like, oh gosh, this is gonna be awful. Thank you, Wattpad, for making me the woman I am today.
Yeah. Like I said, if you want to get women into, like, writing, which, I mean, they already are, like, women, whatever, but just give them a live journal account, you know, and, like, let them go. Let them
fly.
Yeah, let them soar.
Let that pen fly.
Yeah, let those keypads just go. And you'll get some of the wildest content you'll ever see. I'm here to say. But so in other news, one of the things that we wanted to talk about, so Molly and I saw the SNL movie that just came out called Saturday Night. I don't know why, like, keep forgetting the name of the movie.
Just without the live.
Yeah.
Because I think it was originally called Saturday Night.
Yeah.
The show was.
Really?
I think they said it on the show. Like, when the first episode premiered, I think they did. It was originally called just Saturday Night.
Oh, interesting. I think it was a phenomenal movie. I don't know, like, Emily, if you're into SNL, but basically, like, oh, okay, perfect.
I'm not, like, you know, deep in, like, the trenches of SNL history or anything crazy like that, but.
Well, so I mean, I wouldn't say I was really. My dad, like, has always, like, shown, you know, I was, like, introduced to it by, like, my parents, so I know a little bit about the early years, but also, I mean, this movie's about the first, 90 minutes leading up to the first ever episode of SNL.
Yeah. Which makes sense because the first episode's 90 minutes, right? Or 75 minutes. I think it's 90 almost. It's
I don't know, but
than
it's
an hour.
the first, but it's leading up to that.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's the chaos of them preparing for this show that the network is like, doesn't believe is going to do well. They're just like, what is this? It's like a sketch. Like, they keep asking, like, what is this? And so it's about, like, Lorne Michaels, and the one who created Saturday Night Live. And he's like, just like, I don't know what it is. We're just going to have a bunch of young people in their 20s just do sketches, like a bunch of young comedians. And it's just it's really fascinating, but it's so high energy and fast paced. Like, I was just so into it.
I will say also, like, I feel like Lorne Michaels being like, I don't know what it is, we're gonna find out, is how I feel whenever I'm like, we're gonna make this video for the podcast, and I'm like describing it. I'm like,
what's your vision with this?
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't know, we'll see. And then it's just you with pictures of men, and you're like, okay, I see the vision.
Yeah, and obviously it worked out. But the one thing, like, the main thing I can say about this movie is the casting was phenomenal.
Oh my god, amazing. I don't remember any of their names.
Well, the actor that played, the one that stood out to me the most was the actor that played Chevy Chase, like a young Chevy Chase, looked exactly like him.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen him in stuff before, but he, like, it was incredible.
The one that stood out to me in terms of, like, looking alike is the guy who plays Jim Belushi. And Jim Belushi's his son. Wait. John Belushi.
John Belushi's the OG because he was in, like, Animal House and all that.
Yes.
He did look exactly like him. He looked
like, even crazy. Like the, like, eyebrow movements and everything. Yeah. And I think, like, so the thing is, I love SNL because my dream is to, like, write for just, like, something chaotic and crazy like that. Even though I think I would be very, like, stressed in that environment. And I'm sure, like, I would give up probably, as I'm sure a lot of those other people did, like, you'd have to give up everything else in your life. Yeah. Because I just, like, I'm sure, like, the first episode is, yes, that was probably crazy, but I do feel like it's like that every week.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the fast, and I've heard, like people who are on SNL talk about, like, how much they miss the chaos and, like, the fast rewrites in between, like, because you have, like, the rehearsal, and then the rehearsal is where they show it to a live audience, and it's before. It's crazy to me also that the show comes on at, like, 11-something p.m. Like, can you imagine? I'd be falling asleep. I'd be like, I'm not ready to go on. I mean, I guess your adrenaline keeps you going, but in between rehearsal and, like, the actual live show, they're rewriting and, like, that's so wild.
Yeah, I mean, it's, like, literally you're coming up with skits, like, right beforehand, and you're just like, okay, we'll do it.
And you have to give up your weekends, too.
Yeah.
You don't have a Saturday.
But I do think, like, it shows, like, the impact of SNL, because Saturday night at 11 p.m. is a tough time slot, because either you're like us and you're at home and you're already asleep, or you're, like, a young person in, like, their early, like, 20s or whatever, and you're out partying. But I know you're gonna be like, I'm a young person. We are young.
No, I was actually gonna say, I was like, you're that. I'm ready to go by, like, 10 p.m. I'm like, let's go. But I would say you're still out. You're still out.
Yeah, I was like, Molly, when have, I don't think I've ever seen you be like, let's start at 10 p.m.
No, yeah, I don't like secondary locations. Like, I'm ready to go.
Like, you're like, it's my bedtime, which is fine.
Yeah.
I also am like that now, you know? Like,
I don't think you are. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think you are.
Chris has really influenced me negatively in that Chris will stay up till, like, 4 a.m. Yeah, like, he's actually insane. I'm really concerned about his circadian rhythms. Yeah. Are you a morning person or a night person?
I kind of want to say once I'm up, but also I'll get that, like, second wind at night where I'm like, oh, I should, like, clean the kitchen or, like, just do whatever.
I see you stay late at the function. I feel like you're one.
Sometimes I definitely don't know when to go home because, like, I'm usually, for the most part, recently, like, a homebody, but, like, this weekend I was out till 4 a.m. like Friday and Saturday night, and I never want to do that again.
I do feel like you're an Irish goodbye person, though.
Oh, I'm a big fan of French exits and Irish goodbyes. I want that to be on the record.
Wait, what's a French exit?
Okay, I don't actually. This is what it. Okay, this is how it was explained to me. Okay. I could have them backwards. The way it was explained to me, a French exit is when you don't say bye to anybody and you just dip.
I thought that was an Irish goodbye.
Someone told me an Irish goodbye is when you at least say goodbye to the host and then you leave. Because I feel like the Irish have more manners than the French.
I think if that's the case, then I think I might be sort of borderline Irish goodbye.
Yeah. I just feel it out. But, like, I love to leave. I love to go.
I do love to leave, but I will say, I don't love to not this is not an attack on you, but I don't love to not say goodbye to people. Like, I love
I think
saying
it's
goodbye.
my upbringing too. Like, I was just raised by like a mother that was like, it's rude to not like thank the host and that sort of thing. Which I mean, that's totally fair. Like,
actually, every party we've had, you always said goodbye to me. But I feel like when we're like out at Greenleaf, it's like, where's Emily? And
okay,
well, like,
to be fair, I am kind of a runner. Like,
okay,
because there's no host.
I'm just like, okay, like, it's 4 a.m. What am I doing next?
You say bye to the manager at Greenleaf.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god, it was so good seeing you again. I'll be back next week.
Yeah. I am very, like, introvert, extrovert, where I love, like, being out, but then I also am like, and I'm done.
Yes.
And, like, when I'm done, I'm done. And Chris is, like, very much the most extroverted person I've ever been. So, like, if you've ever, like, seen me just staring at the back of Chris's head, just know that's me, like, communicating, like, it's time to go.
Well, you guys don't usually, unless it's like going out at night, like you typically don't go places together for that reason.
Yeah,
like,
we drive separately.
Show up separately.
Yeah. Because he'll stay out till like midnight on a Wednesday, and I'll be like, I'd rather die. I'll be honest. I just don't have it in me. But I also wake up at 6:30. He wakes up at 9. So you know what I mean? Like different things. But anyways, so back to SNL.
Set my alarm. Yo, how did we get a...
Let me set my alarm.
Yeah.
Wait, do you not have it automatically set for every day?
No,
I have my sleep mode on at like 9 p.m.
Yeah. I work from home twice
ignore it.
You can set it so that way, like, Tuesdays and Fridays, it comes off at the same time. Okay.
I don't want that. No.
Okay.
But we got on the topic because I just want to reiterate, it is wild that they start that late. Like, but I guess the adrenaline, like, if you're a performer... Mm-hmm. You're probably, like, your adrenaline is keeping you awake, so...
Oh, yeah. And I don't think they, like, start probably until, like, 3 p.m. or whatever, like, during the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they probably have later.
But that's why I'm saying, like, the prevalence of SNL is kind of crazy because, again, it's at, like, the worst time slot of the week. And it did so well. Mm-hmm. And I will say, like, this is one of my favorite movies we've seen in a long time. Because, again, I love, like... Tina Fey's biography, Amy Poehler's biography. Like, when I was first graduating from college, I was like, should I do improv? And then I remembered I have crippling anxiety, so I probably, like, would not do well.
So Bill Hader has crippling anxiety. Like, he always talks about
how
he has...
I do, too.
He's probably one of my top favorite people to come from SNL.
Oh my god, yeah.
But he always talks about, he would have, like, he would actively have, like, panic attacks before going out. But, like, you would never know that.
With that chaos, like,
sure.
Emily, you gotta see this movie because I think you would love it. Like, with the chaos that starts beforehand. But also, I feel like a key part of, like, improv, we talked about this before we were recording, is being able to hear. And I can't hear shit ever. So, like, someone would say something, and then I'd just be like, what?
I also, it's odd to me that people go to school for improv, because to me it almost seems like something you'd have to be, like, born with, like a natural comedic timing, because improv is all about timing, and I feel like that's not something that can be, like, taught.
I think people who go to school for improv are people like me who, like, want to be funny but are not, like, naturally, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But my thing too is, like, were improv classes even a thing before SNL?
They had, like, improv groups. Like, the one girl is, like, wearing, like, the Groundlings, like, t-shirt when she joins and stuff. So I don't know if they had, like, classes, but they definitely had groups at that time.
I don't know, too, because, like, from what I know from, like, more recent SNL cast members, too, like, oddly enough, their backgrounds are, like, I think Kate McKinnon, I could be saying her name wrong, she went to, like, Columbia. Like, some of them went to, like, really prominent schools for, like, English. Like, John Mulaney.
John Mulaney went for English,
which I don't know if he was technically on SNL's
He was
cast.
a writer.
He was a writer, okay.
And he's actually, I'm so excited, he's hosting this week.
Oh,
with Chappell Roan as the musical guest.
Oh my god,
and it's the
so
election.
Good.
When I say this week, I'm sorry. I think I mean, well, it's either this Saturday or it's next Saturday, but it's the election one.
Oh, so
I'm guessing
it
would
Saturday.
be, I guess they mean next Saturday. It wouldn't be the one before.
They'll probably, either way, they'll do to the election, then whatever happens come next week.
But that's
so I think it's the one after. Yeah, I'm like, because John Mulaney is my favorite comedian. He's my favorite host.
Oh, I'm
of
a John
SNL.
Mulaney apologist. I really am.
I think I am too.
Interesting. But that's, like, one of the things, like, I think about, like, you know, I love John Mulaney. Oh my god.
Do you?
I love Niall. No, I'm just kidding. I love John Mulaney, like Kate McKinnon, Tina Fey. Like, I love all of them. But what I liked about, like, watching this movie and, like, just like the original SNL was like literally Lorne Michaels being like, I just found these comedians on the street.
Yeah.
And
Like,
he's
these are just
still
randoms.
there. He's still
there.
the one
Oh,
calling
yeah.
the
He
shots.
was at one point talking about like maybe giving the reins to Tina Fey because he was like, I think Tina
Oh.
Fey aligns with like my, you know,
Interesting.
she would understand where I want this show to go. But then he recently was like, I'm not leaving for a long time. Like, I don't know.
And
But
that's very Succession of him.
I know. I did
Oh,
just
yeah.
hear.
Are you a Succession fan?
Oh my god.
What?
Why don't we- Yes. I've seen
Okay,
it.
we
God,
might have to
No.
come back for another episode.
We'll do a
Emily.
Diet Pop episode on Succession.
I
even
want
though
to
it's
do
not-
multiple Diet Pop. I watched,
Fine.
just for context.
Because you're an Outlander fan too, and we also are going to do multiple episodes on
I've got to
Outlander.
catch up on that
Are
show
we doing multiple?
because so
Well, yeah,
much has
we're gonna
happened.
have like friends of the pod on. Hannah, your mom,
Yeah.
Cassandra.
Wow. Okay, so we're
Yeah,
we're doing multiple.
Emily.
I did. Yeah.
I'll talk about Scotsman any day.
I think,
I'm there.
and that's why I asked you beforehand if we were doing movie assignments. You don't have to give me one, but I am going to give you one.
No, I'm not watching Outlander.
Just watch the first
I
3
know.
episodes, okay?
I did watch the first episode.
I watched 2 seasons of American Horror Story for you.
You wanted to though.
I'm going to tell you
Wait,
I
which seasons?
the first 2.
No.
Okay.
We just talked about this last night, but I'll just go over this quickly. She watched Coven first.
Okay, Coven's good though. I liked Coven. It's not like the best. I just think, you know.
It's not a great one to start with. I'll just say
Oh
that.
yeah, like Murder House is like
And so that's why I
A
was like,
starting
Alexa,
point.
you need to start with Murder House because like it made everyone so mad that she started with Coven because obviously like you don't really get the vibes of American Horror Story yet. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
if you just start watching Coven. Anyway,
We'll
that's
discuss
so much-
later. I'm curious your opposition of Outlander, but back to SNL.
circling back.
Well,
Circling back.
I actually heard something one time that was so interesting to me. It was like your favorite cast is who was on when you were in middle school.
Yeah.
And I was like, that makes sense.
Did you hear that from me? Because I think I said
No.
that out.
that was when I was like
I didn't. I'm
an
sorry.
avid SNL watcher.
Yeah,
up
me
until more
too.
recently because I feel like it really fell off.
It did.
It was like,
Yeah.
and not to say like I could do a better job.
I
I,
think it
absolutely
falls
cannot.
off
I
now.
would
Yeah.
rather eat
Well,
glass.
'cause, like,
Mine was like because my middle school for me it would have been Bill Hader,
Kristen
Yeah.
Fred
Wiig,
Armisen, Kristen
like,
Wiig, Jason Sudeikis.
one of the best
Kristen
casts.
Wiig,
The best
Roanoke
cast.
College alum. I always have to throw that in there.
That's so
Actually, I
funny.
should never graduated, but it's fine. She went to another school, transferred. That's fine. Also understandable. But anyways, I think that's accurate, and it's the same thing I said with like period piece films, where people will argue they'll be like, oh, like the 1990s Little Women is better, or the 1990s Pride and Prejudice is better, and I'm like,
The
that's 'cause-
BBC one that's like
yeah.
7 episodes. That's my mom's, but
Yeah, but that's probably because that was like the adaptation that was popular when she like came of age. I don't think your mom came of age in the 90s probably. I don't know.
I'm
know.
not
My
gonna
mom's
do
Your mom
favorite
is
is
math on that
my
one.
mom's favorite is the 2005 one.
That's interesting.
So I don't
I
know
feel
if
like-
it. Yeah.
But I feel like I've been on discussion boards, but I'm very bad.
I get what
But
you're
you know what I
saying,
mean?
though,
Like,
yeah.
it's like the one that you're introduced to, like, because we were talking about, like, the recreation of Harry Potter, where you're like, these young kids aren't going to be like, oh, Harry Potter. And I'm like, they probably will. Like, we think Daniel Radcliffe is Harry Potter
Mm-hmm.
because that's what we grew up with. But they're going to grow up with this new iteration of Harry Potter. So it's the same thing, I think, with SNL, where, like, my dad always would say, he's like, SNL's never been the same as it was in the 70s. And I'm like,
And I
Well,
think
because
I'm
everyone
like,
was doing coke then too.
I
I mean, I'm sure
know.
they still are now, but like it was a completely different beast. Like Studio like 54 was still kicking.
Right.
Like it was a whole other.
And, like,
I'm
environment.
sure, like,
and
being-
in this movie, that was like a huge part of it was the drugs.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, yeah.
And, like, again, SNL's, like, first 5 years, I think with my dad, he's, like, 15 years old when it came out. And he's
Yeah.
probably like, yeah, this is the shit, you know?
Well, and it was like I mean, it was genius, but
It
I
was.
also think like Bill Hader and Fred Armisen are genius. Like, so it
Yeah.
just depends. I don't think anybody on the show now is necessarily at that level.
No. I do love Bowen Yang.
I love Bowen
I
Yang.
think-
I like him better as an
Right.
actor, though.
I think
Yeah.
they're really good with like Bo and Yang keeping it more relevant, and I think they are
Yeah.
starting to try to target like a
younger
audience.
audiences.
Yeah. SNL is one of those things where it's like, I could never see it going off the air.
No.
You know, like, I don't think, like, even if the ratings were, like, insanely low, it's almost like in PR or something,
Well,
or
'cause,
like,
yeah, you think about like if something happens in pop culture in the news, people are like, I can't wait for SNL to cover this.
Yeah.
Like that's what no one says that about anything else. You
and
know what I
seeing this
mean?
movie, like, it was weird for me to think, like, oh, that's right, there was a time when there wasn't an SNL, you know? Like,
yeah.
when people were just like, what is that? It's just, I
It's
don't know.
weird that like people didn't understand the idea of sketch comedy.
Yeah.
Like so I guess they were the first.
Like,
I mean, they
someone has
were-
to be the first.
Yeah,
you know?
but like it's just weird to me that like when we were watching the movie, you know, like a lot of them, like we said, they were like, what is this? Like, what is the show? And I'm like, it's sketch comedy. What's so hard to understand about that? But I guess at the time, like, they just didn't, they couldn't see it.
It's just like someone had to be the first to peel a banana, you know? Someone had to be the first to do sketch comedy.
Well, even sketch comedy now is, like, it's trickled down, because now, like, with, you know, like, YouTube and, like, everything like that, like,
TikTok.
now everyone's doing something for, like, a 30-second bit to make it go viral. And, like, they were doing it for, like, an hour every Saturday night, and they still are. Because even now, like, because there's TikTok and everything, you know, you'll get, like, the 2.5-minute TikTok clip of Bo and Yang as Mooding, quoting Chapel Roan, you know?
And that's, like, one thing I will say is I watch a lot of sketch comedy on TikTok that's not SNL. And I think that's very interesting because, and I do think, like, SNL is so prestigious now. Like, in the beginning it was, like, again, like, he just found these people in the street, and now it's, like, oh, you have to have, like...
You have to audition. It's, like, heavy auditioning.
Yeah, and, like, if you get onto SNL, it's, like, holy shit, this is crazy.
And you can get fired at any time. Like, truly, like, there'll be people, like, I remember when, do you guys know who Taran Killam is? He was on SNL at one point. He is, like, to me, like, one of the, like, he was, he's married to Kobe Smulders. You've probably seen
There's
him.
a lot of, like, well-known comedians, so that did, like, either they were on SNL and got fired, like, Adam Sandler got fired from SNL.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, or, like, or auditioned, Chris,
him. I know who that is.
Kevin Hart auditioned for it and didn't get it. Like, there's, like, so many people who auditioned that didn't get it, and you just think, like, they're so successful now, but just for some reason, that, like, they just didn't have the thing.
But I do think it's going to be, like, an Oscar-nominated movie. Like, they gave us the movie poster when we left Movie Tavern. Marcus Theater sponsor us. I want to get it framed. Like, I'm like, I loved that movie. Like, at one point, like, it was my dream to have the talent to be on SNL. I don't think I am, like, that funny or great or whatever, but, like, I wish I were. Do you know what I mean?
Well, they're starting to pull people from TikTok, too, because there's the girl that's on this season who people are like, what? She's, like, a comedian from TikTok. And so they are starting to...
Yeah.
I assume she auditioned, but they also might be scouting people... That was snoring. But it was just, like, the movie was very... It made me happy because it just felt like a love letter to SNL, you know? Yeah. Like, it was really good.
It was really good. And so, like, our question of the week this week was, what is your favorite SNL skit? And I think you said you had...
Sketch.
Oh, sorry.
Remember they say sketch?
Oh, yeah, it's a sketch. I think you said you had one in mind, Emily.
So, can it be, like, a reoccurring one?
Yeah. Anything you want.
Yeah.
Bill Hader as Stefan on the Weekend Update, to this day, will never cease to make me laugh. And I understand, too, like, there's certain things he said and, like, has come out and be like, yeah, that wasn't the most, like, PC thing, and I apologize. But, like, other than that, like, they just... He nailed it. And I always appreciate, too, when you actively see them trying not to break.
Yeah.
I think it makes it so much better. And I just love him and Seth Cohen together so much.
Yeah. I will say Jimmy Fallon is, like, the worst at that. Like, he would always laugh.
He's such a goober. I'm, like, not the biggest fan of Jimmy Fallon.
I don't respect.
His laugh always seems fake to me. Like, it always seems put on, you know?
It's my favorite.
Especially now, like, on his
shows, yeah.
Yeah. What was your question of the week? Or sorry, what was your answer to the question of the week?
So mine, and I actually may have, like, given this away with the post, but mine is the Spartan cheerleaders.
Oh, okay.
Have you guys ever seen it? It's an older one. Yeah, Will Ferrell, and I think her name is Sherry O'Terry or something. Like, it's, but it is, like, so the idea is, like, they're two cheerleaders. They're not, like, actually, like legit cheerleaders, but they cheer at, like, chess games or, like, whatever, funny. And they're just, like, it's the funniest. They're my favorites. I think they're so funny.
You're gonna roll your eyes because my favorite is, like, the viral, like, this used to be my favorite.
Roll my eyes.
There's so many things to choose from. Like, I'm never gonna judge someone.
Yeah.
I liked the viral, like, cowbell Will Ferrell one.
Okay, that's, like, literally
there's
a
an answer
timeless
that we
thing.
got that was that.
Yeah.
Like, but generations know that.
And that I will say with Jimmy Fallon breaking, I think is really funny.
Yes.
And in that one.
But I will say I have actually changed my answer because after the movie, I went back and I watched the entire first, like, first episode.
Oh, first episode.
Christ, no. I was watching American Horror Story. I didn't have time for that. Of, like, SNL. And they have this one. Have you guys seen the first episode?
Not the. I may have seen sketches.
The very first one?
Very, very first one.
Because it's what the movie is, like, about, is the first one.
It's this,
but
like,
I haven't seen.
I don't know why this got me, but this literally, like, I was red in the face, like, laughing, and it's this like sketch where it's like we got our SNL cast to go around and we asked people to show us your guns, and it's just like people on the street like they're like holding up a sign on like the truck and it's like show us your guns, and it's like these people getting married and they're like here's our guns or whatever, and it's like it sounds stupid. I feel like you can't explain an SNL sketch whatever without it like sounding stupid. I'm gonna show it to you afterwards, but just like them being on the truck being like show us your guns in 1975.
Well, you know what's funny too is like I was gonna say this earlier and I've forgotten, but one thing that I think is interesting is like it's almost like what we were saying about Ryan Murphy with American Horror Story. It's like sometimes the idea of a sketch is really funny. So a lot of the time Seth Meyers will do this thing now, since he talks about SNL all the time on his show, but he'll have like former cast members who he's like still friends with come onto the show and they'll talk about sketches that they did that didn't air or like, you know, that just like people didn't think were funny, but it was ideas they had. And the ideas always sound so funny, but they're like, yeah, but you have to remember 4 minutes of it is like not very funny. You know, like the idea of it is funny, but when you're doing it it's a 4-minute long sketch. And I'm like, that is so true. That would be so, like, when you really think about how long a sketch has to be, like, that's so much pressure.
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing something like that because that's one sketch. That's like 4 minutes.
Right.
And you have multiple sketches and you're doing that every Saturday night.
Yeah. I understand why they were all on coke.
Oh my god,
you know?
It's like, they didn't have Adderall back then.
Yeah.
Did they not? I don't think they did.
Probably not.
I don't think they did. But, you know, it's
but,
probably still an early
honestly, I don't think Adderall would cut
but
it. Like, I think you need straight cocaine to be I'm gonna get on live television and do a skit for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I couldn't even do that no matter, like, what drug I was on, you know?
Right.
Like, give me some ayahuasca. Probably wouldn't go well. I'm just saying. But did we get any responses?
We got a lot of responses.
Okay.
So, to go to what you were saying about the breaking, Cordy said Career Day with Adam Driver and Pete Davidson. Have you ever seen that one?
Interesting.
It's the one where he plays, it's like their class is like having a career day and Adam Driver comes in. He's supposed to be sort of like he's supposed to be like a character from, what is it? What's There Will Be Blood almost? Like kind of like Daniel Day-Lewis's character. He's like this oil, what do you call that? Like an oil tycoon. Tycoon, yeah. Tycoon. And he's just like this old man and he's like, "You're a boy," or whatever. And he's just like, it's so, I can't explain it. It's really funny. But like, Cordy was saying like the breaking, like everybody breaking during that sketch. Because like the thing about Adam Driver, so I said John Mulaney is my favorite host, but Adam Driver is like also up there for me because he is so committed to the sketches. If you watch him, you know, sometimes like hosts will like look at the cards. They're just fully reading off of the cards and they're not like actually acting. Adam Driver somehow has it like memorized or something, and he's just like acting his ass off.
That is a Juilliard trained man.
Exactly.
Did he go to Juilliard?
He went to Juilliard.
Yeah, he was also in the Marines for like a little bit.
I also believe that.
And then he's like, I'm gonna go to Juilliard.
That's why he's incredible.
And that's just like to show you can always change your life.
Okay, his range though, he was in Girls and then he was like Kylo Ren in
Star
Wars. I'm like, what can't this man do?
But we realized, we talked about this recently.
Italian accent.
Fair.
That's true.
You got me there.
Adam Driver.
We saw Megalopolis, which
I heard that's a flop. I refuse to.
It was something, all right. But we realized he does the best when he's playing like a little freak, you know, like how he does in Girls. Like he's just
a little weirdo. I love a little freak, honestly.
I know.
Yeah.
So Patrick said either PowerPoint presentation, which is with John Mulaney, which is a very funny one, or Black Jeopardy are his two favorites.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Which that Black Jeopardy is also very funny. Mary said Casablanca, which I think is the one. I think it has Kate McKinnon in it. It's
interesting.
It's a newer one, I think. My dad said more cowbell.
Okay.
And my mom said Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood with Eddie Murphy. Have you ever seen those? It's where he's supposed to be like Mr. Rogers, but he's Mr. Robinson, and he's like just like the complete opposite of Mr. Rogers, and it's really, really funny.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a pretty iconic.
But anyways,
we got a good amount of answers. Those were good ones.
Yeah, again, if you want to participate in our question of the week, follow us at Poppin In Podcast on Instagram, and we post one usually every week. Sometimes we forget, but most of the time we do, and if you give a good answer, we'll read it out loud. But I also want to talk about, and I feel like you both, as girly pops, will have opinions on the Victoria's Secret fashion show.
I actually didn't watch it this year.
I only watched clips of it, but What, like, okay, I'm curious, like, what is your relationship to, like, Victoria's Secret? Like, when you think of Victoria's Secret, what are you thinking about?
I used to be well, okay, my relationship with it is that I used to shop there all the time.
Oh, yeah. When Pink was, like, popping
Pink.
off. Oh, my gosh.
They also used to send, I'm so angry about this. Well, I think Victoria's Secret is just, like, down the drain now. I don't think it's
Which I'm
doing
surprised
well.
they had a show, because apparently they're, like, going out of business.
They are. They sent, they used to send coupons for free underwear. So I would go and, like, that's why I have so much, like, underwear collected. Because, like, they would send free coupons. They do not have the money for that anymore. So I don't get them.
Semi-annual sale.
Yeah. So I used to love it. Like, I used to shop there all the time. I used to get my bathing suits from there. But, yeah, I don't... the one near us closed down.
So it's interesting because, like, we all grew up, like, we're all millennial Gen Z coded, right? So we grew up with, like, the Victoria's Secret fashion show. Like, I would say my first real memory of it was in college when all of, like, the guys wanted to watch it. So we, like, got together, like, it was my girlfriends too, but, like, we got together in a guy's dorm room and wanted to watch it. And at the time I was like, yeah, I would kill to, like, look like one of them. Like, this is, like, the peak of hotness. And, like, now with, like, a more adult, like, 2024 lens, just, like, thinking back on, like, how problematic Victoria's Secret was for just, like, the early, mid-2000s is very interesting. And I think, like, you know, there was this one writer for Teen Vogue where she said it's basically part of, like, the nostalgia renaissance, where we're, like, bringing back these things because it's like, oh, we want to, like, live in the past or whatever. But I just don't think Victoria's Secret works for, like, the current culture of 2024. And so, like, originally the Victoria's Secret fashion show started in 1995. It started broadcasting in 2001, and then it was canceled in 2019 for a variety of reasons, part of which, like, they said they just didn't have, like, the funding, but I think it was partly because in 2018 Ed Razek, the chief marketing officer, said that the brand's annual show wouldn't include, and he used the word, transsexuals. But then there was also the brand's former CEO, Les Wexner. He had ties to Jeffrey Epstein, who was employed to manage his finances until 2007. And so I think all of that mixed together within also, like, this culture of, like, Me Too happening and body positivity just was really, like, a downfall for Victoria's Secret in general. But then so they decided to come back this year. I'm not really sure why. They had originally done, I forget what it was called, but it was like, they tried a couple years ago, it was like Megan Rapinoe. Oh my god. Megan Rapinoe. I cannot
Chris
believe
is gonna, like, flip for that one.
The thing is, I always say in my head, don't say her name like that, and then I always immediately do. Megan Rapinoe, and, like, there were, like, other famous people where they were part of, I think it was the Victoria's Secret Collective, where it's supposed to be like, oh, we're, like, showcasing different people, but that didn't really take off because it was like, okay, these are still, like, famous people, athletes who really fit one standard type of thing. And so, like,
they just kept trying to rebrand, and it just, like, nothing was clicking.
They tried marketing Barbara Palvin as a plus-size model.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you guys are insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even so, this, like, recent fashion show has been, like, the whole thing was, like, it was supposed to reflect who we are today. So, like, it's supposed to be all women. There's no, like, male performers or anything like that. But then it was just, like, there was nothing... I think people felt it just fell flat, and they were trying too hard to be like, we love women.
I know. And this might be an unpopular opinion. You might not like this. But I do think, like... I think a lot of it, too, is them trying to rebrand into being... not more inclusive, but being, like, it's almost like it feels forced. And it's like, just, yeah, it was problematic, but I also think, like, if that's not what you are, then don't try to...
Yeah. And
I don't know.
I just think, like,
I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if I sound bad when I say that. But,
no,
like,
I get what you're saying, though, because
false.
they have been around since, like, the mid-90s.
Yeah.
So, like, you've been marketing a certain way for decades and trying to make, like, a hard pivot. It's, like, very obvious that you're trying to cater to, like, a certain, like, current modern crowd, and it's too hard of a shift. And I think sometimes, even if I don't agree with it, there's this, like, air of, like, exclusivity, because there was this obsession with, like, I want to work out to be like a Victoria. It was, like, very much bordering on, you know, like, the ED, Y2K, which honestly is kind of, like, making a comeback
Yeah.
on the internet.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, with like the rise of Ozempic
Right.
and everything. Yeah.
And I think a big part of Victoria's Secret too was, as like a household name, they had all these like very well-known models who got
Yeah.
their big break because
Yeah.
they were Victoria's
Adriana
Secret angels.
Lima,
I was about to say,
Candace
yeah.
Swanepoel,
Bren-
and then you know,
Giselle
I used to be
Bundchen.
obsessed with Candace Swanepoel. Like, she was, to me, like, the epitome of just, like, beauty.
Yeah. And there were like a lot of iconic moments that happened at like the Victoria's Secret fashion show. You know, like there's was it not Gigi, Bella Hadid like walking past like the Weekend.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
while he's singing, there's like and things like that. But the problem for me is like, okay, it's almost like the same thing with like Abercrombie and Fitch. Like if you've ever watched that documentary, which is really good, where they were like, we don't like if our clothes don't sell, we don't donate them, we burn them. Like we don't want to see like
So
we don't want
harsh.
like people who are quote unquote poor wearing our clothes. And it's like, okay,
Did you see the guy, by the way, got arrested
which
for
guy?
sex trafficking?
oh my god,
Which one?
Yeah, the Abercrombie and Fitch.
I mean, I
CEO.
believe
don't
it.
know.
I mean,
no,
you
it
have
just-
the one dude for Victoria's Secret, like Lex, something that literally
Yeah.
sounds like a supervillain.
Yeah.
like
Well, Lex Wexner? Wait.
that sounds literally made up. I'm sorry.
does, yeah.
It does. And you're like,
It's
oh,
a-
he's got
it's a
ties to
front.
Les-
Epstein.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Les Wexner. There we go.
Yeah.
I think he also was tied into Abercrombie and Fitch. Fact check me on that. I can't because I watched the
Yeah,
documentary a
this
while
just
ago.
happened the other day, though. He
But
got arrested.
and I think it's like the same thing where they were like, we're never gonna have plus size models showing our clothes. We're never going to have like transgender people showing our clothes, like whatever. And so to like say that and then like that's never been your brand, and then to come back and be like, it's just obviously like it kind of reminds me of capitalist feminism where it's like, oh, let's buy these feminist mugs, and it's like we're selling feminism. Like the only reason we've changed is because like we lost money because we didn't change. Whereas I very much appreciate like I think like Kim Kardashian, whatever, Skims, a great product. I love, you go on their website, you can see a model, a real model wearing in every size wearing their different items. Savage by Savage, I think it's like Savage X Fenty or whatever by Rihanna. Like I will say like the quality isn't great, but I felt very like seen by that in that. And one thing I will say that I think the fashion industry needs to like course correct in general, it really pisses me off, is like, okay, yes, we have more diversity because we have plus size models, but I'm like, okay, it's either a size 0 or it's a plus size model, which is again better than it used to be, but I'm like, I still don't see myself like represented. I'm like, where's like a size like 6 to 10, you know what I mean?
or just like being a woman, like things
Yeah.
fluctuate.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you literally can't help it sometimes. And I'm
Yeah.
like, where's something that's like accommodating in that aspect?
Yeah.
Where I'm not
Actu-
having to rebuy a bunch of
Yeah.
stuff all the time.
Right.
I actually love Khloe Kardashian, and I've not worn these jeans. I don't know like the reviews, but I saw her ad where she has like the Always Fits jeans, and they're supposed to like, she's like, so you gain a little weight and they'll still kind of like fit you in a certain way. You lose a little weight, they still fit you in a certain way. And I'm like, I need that.
It's like the magical pants from Sisterhood of the Child.
I need like
Yes.
when I had pants from like Children's Place with like the button and the elastic on the side. I'm like,
Yes.
listen, let's normalize that for
Elastic
grown
band.
women, okay? Please.
Yes, let's normalize like all the time
Yeah.
girls are like, I want to get rid of my pooch, and I'm like, the thing is, I'm hypocritical because I'm like, I understand that because I also want to get rid of my pooch, but also I'm like, but you need that because like it's protecting your vital organs, and that's just like how the body is. But like I think like the thing that makes me mad with Victoria's Secret is again like, who is this fashion show for? Like I don't know any girls who were like, I'm so excited.
I've never watched
Yeah.
a Victoria's Secret fashion show. I've seen like highlight reels
Yeah.
and
Right.
like, clips.
I've
and,
never
like,
watched
stuff,
it live.
but I've
Yeah.
like never been like, yeah, I want to watch that.
I've only watched it because guys wanted to watch it because they were like, these are hot women, and I was like, well, I want men to like me because that's like our society.
Or they had Harry, like, remember Harry Styles performed one time? Like,
Yeah.
sometimes the performers,
Okay,
like
see,
you said, the
that-
weekend, like,
yeah,
yeah,
that I
that
can get
was like a
behind.
time I feel like people were into it. But I
Like
feel like,
Taylor Swift or
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Like, I don't know. But I think it's fine to just be done with it. I didn't get excited when I heard. I only knew about it actually because I kept seeing. So now they're trying to market themselves too, like through TikTok, which obviously that's an obvious way to go.
Yeah.
But they'll send packages to influencers to be like, here, you know, like, so influencers are showing these packages that they got, and they're like, I'm gonna watch this I'm gonna wear this while watching the fashion show tonight. I'm like, oh, the fashion show is back? Like,
Yeah.
that's the only reason I knew about it.
And I'm here to say also, like, And, I think, like, Venti did this really well where they, have people where it's like they have different, like, abilities. So it's like you're not wearing stilettos. You're wearing, like, it's like, oh, I have this injury, so I'm going to wear, like, these kitten heels or whatever. Mm-hmm. Whereas they're like, okay, sure, we have different body types. They had 2 transgender models, which is great. But they also, like, it felt very limited in terms of what they were showcasing, where it's all, like, I think usually, like, lingerie. Mm-hmm. And I'm here to say, as, like, an almost 30-year-old woman, like, I want to be marketed things that, sure, look cute, but are comfortable. I want to see someone strut down the runway in a pair of comfortable underwear with no lines that maybe makes their butt pop, Like, I'm like, yes, I'll buy lingerie or whatever, like, sometimes, but I'm like, I want to be marketed for the everyday sometimes, and
I agree with that.
Like, I just think that's where, like, Victoria's Secret really, like, got, like,
it's so targeted towards the male gaze.
Yes.
And I stand by that because, like, don't get me wrong, like, I will, like you're saying, like, I'll buy some lingerie every once in a while, like, if I want to, like, spoil myself, but I'm doing it for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's like when you talk about your bra and underwear matching, like, you just feel, like, naturally more put together.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm not going to be wearing, like, a G-string and, like, a bombshell push-up bra, because one, I finally hit puberty, I don't necessarily need that.
Yeah.
And then 2, like, it's just not, like, ideal.
Yeah.
For going about your day-to-day.
And I will say, in college, the Victoria's Secret bombshell bra really did save me, because I'm someone, according to my seamstress, has a top that doesn't match her bottom.
Oh my god.
You need to drop your seamstress.
She's so good. She's just really insulting.
Usually, I feel like a lot of the time, I don't want to make, like, assumptions, but is she from America?
No.
Okay, so sometimes they're very blunt.
Yes,
very
and I don't think she meant it to be like, hey, you've got a fat
They
ass.
don't, like, they don't realize.
She was just like, oh, well, the problem is your top is a lot smaller than your bottom. And I was like, it's called a pear shape. Like, I think that's what 17 Magazine told me.
Oh,
but anyways, so, like, I would buy the bombshell bras. I still have them.
I still have them. I still
4
wear
in my... They're $80.
I still wear Victoria's Secret bras. Now, I will say, I have, like I said, I got all those coupons for free underwear. I still have so many thongs that I just don't want to wear anymore.
I don't want to wear that.
Hate thongs.
I'm wearing, currently I am wearing, like, not boxers, or, like, boxers for
shorts.
women or whatever. First of all, I think they make my ass look great. Second of all, I'm like, I just work from home. Like, what am I gonna wear, a lacy thong all day? That's
Can I tell
weird.
a funny story really quick? This is so off topic, but I went to a wedding a couple weekends ago, and Matthew was in the wedding, so he was gone getting ready while I was still at the hotel, and I realized I forgot to pack underwear, which happens a lot. Like, that's just the one thing I sometimes forget.
That's interesting. I feel like
That's,
you would
like,
be a very
I am very
underwear-heavy
anal
person.
about it. Like, usually if I write it down, but for some reason I think I was packing for actually 2 trips back to back. Anyway, whatever. I forgot underwear, so I had to order some from Target, and I ordered for it to be delivered. But the guy that was, like, picking out the stuff, it wasn't there. So he's texting me, and he's like, he's trying to find. He was so nice. He was trying to, like, find different underwear for me. So he's, like, sending, like, photos. He's like, what about this kind?
He's like, I've heard women like thongs. What about this one?
Funny. That is so
He was like, I was like, do they have a medium? Like, like having to talk about and then meet him in person.
That's so
got
funny.
very comfortable.
I feel like you can just leave it on the porch.
Yeah.
It was so
We
tall,
don't
I
need
had
to
to
talk.
meet him.
I still feel awkward if I, like, buy underwear at a store and it's a man checking me out, and I'm just like, because the thing is, it's either like, oh, these are hot underwear, or they're like granny panties.
Oh, I love granny panties.
I do too. Like,
So
let's
cute.
bring back, like, the 1950s underwear. I'm like, it honestly,
Yeah.
it doesn't look great if I'm only wearing the underwear, but underneath my clothes, I'm snatched.
Let's do Mormon underwear.
Yes. But, so I just think, like, the Victoria's Secret fashion show is out of date. And also, again, like, okay, wait, I was going to say the bombshell bra thing. I was telling friend of the pod, Eric, the other day, again, those bras were $80. They were so expensive. I only got, like, 1 a year, and it was always, like, 4. Like, imagine,
They're probably not now, though. How much do you think they are now?
Oh, they're probably, I don't think they make them anymore.
Okay.
But imagine asking your parents for Christmas, like, can I get a push-up bra?
Yeah.
Because I was just like, hadn't filled out or whatever. But I remember telling Eric, I was like, I always think of, like, when people in the 70s or 60s were like, we're burning bras. And I'm like, no, they weren't. Bras are not cheap. You asked me.
Maybe back then they were.
They weren't. Like, women, like, have said, I wasn't burning my bras.
Yeah.
Kidding me? Like, what am I going to have, like, boob sweat on me all the time? You know, like I paid $40
also,
for this.
why burn them? Just say I'm not going to wear them.
Yeah.
You don't have to burn them. That's very dramatic.
Yeah. I'm keeping my bras,
Yeah.
you know? Like, I'm keeping these titties up.
You know what used to piss me off was going to Victoria's Secret, like, with my mom, trying on bras, and, like, having to, like, I just wanted to buy them, but then you had to get measured by a person working there, and I'm just like, ugh.
But
Like,
there's
it was
sizing,
so
too.
tiring.
I think that was, like, why Victoria's Secret was such a thing, too, because they made you delusional about your actual cup
Yes.
size.
They told me
They
I
were
was
trying
a-
to tell me I was a C, and I was like, I'm maybe at best an A,
Me
and that's
too.
that's reaching.
No,
You know
that
who-
used to throw me off. I still, to this day, I'm like, what is my bra size? Because I've always been told I'm, like, a B or a C. I'm like,
Well, I think, too, like, kind of going back to, like, how Victoria's Secret was like, oh, we're not doing the show 2019, I think Aerie came in at, like, the ideal time, because they didn't just market it as, like, undergarments and lingerie. They also
Yeah.
had, like, you know, like, activewear and, like, yoga pants and stuff like that, and they've definitely expanded on that. But I think, like, from the jump, they were like, oh, our stuff's made for everybody. So they
Yeah.
were showing women of different, like, body sizes, different, like, abilities, like, all sorts of stuff. And they've definitely, like, continued to keep up with that. But it was like, oh, if I'm getting, like, a 34C, like, I'm getting a 34C. Also, I feel like their quality is way better.
and Aerie's
Yeah.
stuff is so comfortable, and I want to
Oh
make
my
a
gosh,
good
yes.
transition here. Do you think we have more to say?
Well, I just want to say one thing. I always think of the line from Eat, Pray, Love where, like, the girl is upset because she's gained a little weight because she's living in Italy, and she's like, well, and Julia Roberts' character is like, have you ever taken your clothes off? And the man said no.
I just saw that clip yesterday, because
Yeah.
yesterday was her birthday.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, Julia Roberts' birthday?
Yeah.
Oh, happy
Alexis is
birthday.
like, and I missed it.
Happy birthday, Julia Roberts.
It's a national holiday.
Yeah. And I think it's like the same thing with underwear. Like, do you think you're ever gonna get into a position where it's like, and sorry for any family members that are listening, but like you're about to like have sex with someone and they're gonna be like, you're wearing granny panties?
Yeah.
If they are, like, don't have sex with them.
That-
you know,
Yeah,
like,
your underwear
you don't
doesn't
need-
match your bra.
they're literally gonna be like, I'm about to have sex with someone. This is great.
Do you know
know
how
what I
many
mean?
men
Oh, sorry.
I know? Well, my
Just
friends that like
nothing more.
have romantic partners who are men. They're like, yeah, he like literally has a pair of underwear that has like 5 million holes in it. I'm like,
What typical man.
first of all, you cannot waterboard that information out of me
Mhm.
about my partner. But also, like, you're gonna judge me because I'm wearing or looking some type of way.
Yeah.
Also,
know?
can I just say, I think men, like, in terms of men's underwear, I love, first of all, don't ever come near me with a tighty whitey. You know, it's not the same,
pro
like,
boxer.
it's not the same for women. If you undress and you're wearing a tighty whitey, I'm like, okay, put your clothes back on. Like,
You gotta go.
We're
Your
done
Uber's out
here,
front.
you know? But, like, if it's, like, not a full boxer where it's, like, they're basically wearing just blousey shorts. I don't know, they're boxer brief.
Yeah.
But, like, I like it when they're black. Do you know what I mean? It's, like, very...
What is it with black underwear? Because guys kind of like a black. I personally like a black underwear
Yeah.
myself.
Everyone looks
But I
like
just
Yeah.
like wearing
I think
like
it's just 'cause
black
everybody
more in
looks good
general.
in it.
Yeah.
It's
I also
easy
love
to
men in
coordinate.
black socks. I don't know why, but I'm like, because...
I think you associate it with, like, them looking nice, like, dressing
Yeah.
up.
Oh yeah, like a little
Probably.
black dress.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Little black
Little,
socks.
little black boxer shorts.
So, anyways, men, don't be wearing tighty whities or those blousey things. Like a good little boxer brief, I think, is where it's at, you know?
Yeah, let it breathe.
Yes. But what
I'm
was...
so sorry.
You're fine.
Let it breathe.
Yes. But what was your transition? I'm sorry.
Well, it feels
It
a
was
little
gonna-
off topic
it was
now,
gonna be
but
natural.
It was going to be natural because I was going to say Aerie is selling Wicked stuff right now that I really
Really?
want to
Oh.
buy. They have, like, a really cute, like, Wicked sweatshirt, like a pink one that I'm like, I want to buy. It's like $50, but I don't care because I
Of course it
love
is.
Aerie's stuff. I always want to buy, like, certain, like, seasonal, like, they have these, like,
Yeah.
Charlie Brown pajamas that I'm like,
Oh, it's cute.
Their
but
stuff
it's so
is
cute.
so soft and
exactly,
buttery.
I just want it. But that was gonna be my transition into Wicked,
Oh,
which
yeah.
we're very excited about. I don't know, are you? Did we already say whether? I know you don't like musicals, Emily.
So I always say I don't like musicals, but then I think about ones I do like, and then I think it's usually because there's already like real music involved. But I've never seen Wicked. Like I have respect for the theater. I have respect for
Yeah.
Broadway. It's just
Yeah.
like I don't know how much.
And I think
thing
Wicked
it
is good for everybody. I've always said that to people because, like, I have a lot of friends who don't like musicals, but I'm like, Wicked is something that, because you're not a huge musical person, but
No.
you do know Wicked, like,
Yeah.
you like the music. I feel like Wicked has something for everybody, but I think this is a good transition.
Yeah.
To talk
Before
about
I
our
started
next
like
topic.
degrading men.
I know, I was like, I don't know how to get back into this.
You're like, you know what? Wicked boxers. Just kidding.
Some wicked boxers.
Some
wicked
wicked-
boxes.
Wicked boxes. That's whew.
They could totally market a bra and like do the defying gravity thing. Oh my god! Wait,
So
write that
they
down.
have-
Write that down.
TM.
They have, because not really, but they sell something. Literally, they're selling Wicked mac and cheese right now.
Yeah,
Oh,
I will
I've seen the
say,
cake pop mix that people are like trying to see like if they get green or pink.
I was at Target today. I saw Wicked blankets. Couldn't find their Stanleys, but whatever.
I will say, like, marketing for, like, movies and stuff like that is crazy, and it's so
It's
capitalist.
a little cringe to me, actually.
The
Also, I
popcorn
want
bucket.
to
Or
be,
Wicked.
however, like, I would love to be on the marketing team
I
for one of
know.
these
Oh my
movies,
gosh.
where I would be like, let's do, like, Wicked Ring doorbells, where it just is, like, you ring it, and it's like,
I feel like anything goes
defying
though.
gravity.
Like
Yeah.
anything people are pitching out, like we can sell that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I
They're like,
do-
here's some Wicked Lysol wipes.
I just think sometimes it's forced. Like, for Wicked, I'm like, okay, calm down, you guys.
clean off those Wicked germs.
Like,
Sorry.
I think they're trying to have,
Sounds
like, a
good.
Barbie moment. I think they're trying to have a Barbie moment
Oh, for
where...
sure.
No one can have a Barbie moment,
Which you
though.
can't. You can't force it. But
Yeah.
I will say, my husband and I did just do Wicked. So last year we did like a Barbenheimer thing for like Halloween last year, and this year we try to kind of go for that again. So because like Wicked and Gladiator II are coming out the same day.
Oh yeah.
So
you're right.
I dressed as Glinda and he dressed as a gladiator. But like I don't know if people really fully got it this time.
I
but
will say,
It was fun.
will Matthew be upset if I tell this story?
I don't know.
Matthew apparently did not like his gladiator costume.
Wait, I came home and he was dressed and like ready to go, and he was just sitting on our bed, literally just staring at the wall. Like he was so
Yeah.
pissed. He
Which it
hated
wasn't even like a ridiculous costume. Like
No,
it was
he's
like
clearly
full-
a gladiator.
gladiator. But like, so Chris and I are like on the way to this event that we're all going to, and I just see like on Chris's screen like a text from Matthew Golson, but Chris is driving so he doesn't look at it. I'm not kidding. Maybe like 3 minutes pass, and it's like a call from Matthew Golson, and Chris answers it in the car, and Matthew is just like, hey, are you wearing a costume to this thing? And Chris is like, yeah, like I'm dressed as Ted Lasso or whatever. And Matthew's just like, I think my costume's stupid. And Chris asked him to send a picture. And Matthew sent a picture. I've just never seen him look like he
was so
hated
miserable.
anything.
Was it
It's
like
a
a
mere
mugshot?
selfie of
Yeah.
him just
Like,
he's
Chris-
so
Oh,
mad.
no.
Chris is driving. I was ready to risk our lives for this zoom in where I just like zoomed in on Matthew's expression. I was like, he hates this costume. And it wasn't bad. I don't
It
know why.
wasn't, and also, like, it was something I got from Spirit Halloween, so it was obviously expensive, and I was like,
Yeah.
Matthew, you have to wear it. Like, I don't know. Like, you
This
have
was
to
a
wear it.
financial investment.
Exactly.
Like, you have to.
And, like, you
Yeah.
know, Pedro Pascal's wearing it, like, you can wear it.
The
like,
people-
if he did it, then
Yeah.
He's
go
gonna.
ahead.
The
I feel like
bros
he's
are
also
doing
gonna
it.
be ahead of the curve because it's gonna be like once the movie actually
Yeah.
comes
Yeah,
out,
people
that's
are
when
gonna
everyone's
wanna
like,
be
oh, like I'm
gladiators.
Paul Mescal or Pedro Pascal.
Exactly.
If people don't get it, then they're stupid. But also, like, Matthew should not have been, like, like, he looked fine.
And
in it.
people were dressed up, so it's fine. But he was like worried
Yeah.
they weren't. But anyway, we can. So
Yeah.
there's been some interesting things to come with Wicked. I'm very excited to see it,
Yeah.
starring Ariana Grande as Glinda and Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba, and they're both amazing. I think they're both going to be amazing in it. But
I don't know why this drama, like, I literally thought this drama was fake when it first, like, crossed my desk. I was like,
I
oh,
didn't
this is...
know she was like that. Like I didn't know
didn't
that was
either.
her personality. I'm a pretty big fan of Cynthia in terms of like her acting, and also like her sing. She's a beautiful singer. She's also got the classiest British accent I have ever heard. Like if you have ever, it's like you're listening to like melted butter speak. Like I can't even
I love
explain it. She
that.
just like sounds like her voice is just beautiful, like her
Yeah.
speaking voice. But she's a little bit. She takes herself very seriously.
Yeah.
And so basically the Wicked cover, so the cover of like the Wicked,
movie.
no, the musical
Yeah.
is like the album, like the soundtrack, whatever. The musical, the Broadway musical is of like Glinda whispering into Elphaba's ear, and Elphaba's like face is covered slightly by her hat,
Yeah.
and she's kind of like smirking because it's like she's like Glinda's telling her a secret. And it's like a very iconic cover. So they try to recreate it with like with Ariana Grande and Cynthia. And but the problem is it just didn't really look exactly like it because Cynthia's face is fully showing. So
Yeah.
and then she's not even smirking, she's just making this kind of weird face. It just like looks
Yeah.
a little awkward. So so everybody was like commenting on that. They're like, it doesn't look right. And so this guy I feel bad for him now. He's like, I did not know it would cause all this, but he did like a fan edit or whatever of
the like movie poster.
The movie poster to make it look like the musical, so her face is now covered, her eyes are covered, and she's like smirking. Cynthia did not like that.
No, I wrote down her full quote because it was so insane to me. So basically on Instagram, her Instagram story, and then I think she made a post about it, she was so upset by this fan art whatever, which I didn't even know she realized it was fan art at the time. Maybe she did. She said, and I quote, "This is the wildest, most offensive thing I have seen, equal to that awful AI of us fighting, equal to people posing."
What is she talking about?
The question is and this was like bleeped out and everything I saw, but I'm assuming it says, "Is your pussy green?" None of this is funny. None of it is cute. It degrades me. It degrades us. I'm still going.
Degrades who? Like,
yeah, the original poster is an all caps illustration. "I am a real life human being who chose to look right down the barrel of the camera to you, the viewer. ... Because without words, I lost my place. Oh, we communicate with...
It's long.
We communicate with our eyes. Our poster is a homage, not an imitation. To edit my face and hide my eyes is to erase me. And that is just deeply hurtful."
So I'm curious, an homage to what? Because I might be missing... the movie hasn't come out yet, so are they making some kind of statement that I'm missing? Because what?
Yeah, okay, she said a lot to kind of
like
say
break
nothing.
That
down.
reaction to a movie poster, and I'm gonna be honest,
To a fan
art. It looked
that's
better.
classic. That
It
is
did look
classic
better.
theater kid behavior, though.
Yeah.
So
Like,
I found
100%.
I found out that she has been doing this for a long time because she's been in theater.
Oh,
I mean,
she gets in
she's-
like Twitter fights, apparently.
She used to,
Yeah, really?
Oh,
Yes,
she's
that's-
messy. I love it.
She's very
Okay.
messy. It is like entertaining, but she used to be. People were like, if you know her, if you're deep in the like lore of like theater and whatever, like you know that she's been doing this kind of thing for a long time. Like she'll call people. She once got in a fight with somebody on Twitter over like, oh dang, I can't remember what it is now. It was like it was like also wild. Like they were talking about making, which I've heard this for thousands of years now, them making like a live action version of Hercules.
Oh.
And
I'm rooting for that.
I know, but I'm
digress.
It
like,
could be the hottest man, though.
It could be Paul
it
Mescal.
does.
I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
So
he was a theater kid. He was in Phantom of the Opera when he was like a teenager.
I could see
I
him
think
being
it
a
would
theater
be
kid.
like
production.
a young Sam Hugan would be good. But I think he's too old now.
Well, so they were saying, what are the three women called from Hercules?
The Muses?
The Muses, yeah.
Or are you talking about the old ladies? The Fates?
The Fates, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So they were saying, but I thought it was Muses too.
The Muses are all the women that sing. There's like 5 of them. Or more.
Oh, then maybe I am.
Yeah.
I don't
Because
remember.
people were talking about
The
like,
ones
we should
who
cast
dance on the
Lizzo.
pot?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know which one, but somebody said they were going to cast her as that. They were like, she'd be perfect. And she got really mad about that, genuinely angry, and was
Wow.
like, I am not I am not an ensemble performer. Like, I am a star. Like, she was really mad. And so she's been doing this for a long time. So it was just very funny. Like, it's just...
That's also, like, offensive, not to me, but just in general, like, to be offended that you are not
I
an
know.
ensemble performer. What are you saying about the ensemble
Right.
performers?
And yes, we know you obviously you're a star, but like it's just a fan casting.
Okay,
Like,
I'm
who
gonna be
cares?
honest,
Yeah.
and please don't come for me, Cynthia. Is she a star? Because I
Well,
didn't know her
she-
before
Okay,
Wicked.
I know her
For
from one
theater.
thing. I don't know anything about theater. So, like, I'm not going to put my 2 cents on that because theater kids are ruthless.
Yeah.
Even especially when they're grown adults.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I've only seen her in one thing, and I could be misremembering, but I'm, like, fairly certain she was in this movie with, like, Dakota Johnson, Chris Hemsworth, and it was, like, Bad Times at the Battle Royale.
Oh, she was.
Oh.
Oh no. Jennifer Hudson was in that.
Was it Jennifer Hudson?
Was it? Sometimes I get the two of them. I thought Jennifer Hudson was in it.
I could be misremembering. It's been
But you
years
could be
since I saw
right.
that movie, but I just remember, like, Chris Hemsworth does this little dance with his
Yes,
shirt unbuttoned. I'm like,
I loved that
yeah.
movie.
Love
Yes,
this movie.
okay.
And everyone's like, this is such a flop. I'm like, I
We're
loved
like,
it.
No, it was
But-
Cynthia. You're right. So I know her from she was on a Stephen King show called The Outsider.
Okay.
And she was really good. Like I love her so much, but I'm just like
That
knowing
reaction
that
was-
she is, it gave me such an ick knowing that
yes.
she is like that.
Insane. And I'll be, again, and what's crazy is in the poster, or like even in the fan art, like Ariana Grande, you can't really see her face. So why are you upset? Like, it looks more like the poster, but so she recently recognized that it was an overreaction. I think it was on a red carpet interview. She said, I'm passionate about it. And I know the fans are passionate about it. And I think for me, it was just like a human moment of wanting to protect little Elphaba. And it was just like a human moment, she said. I probably should have called my friends, but it's fine.
I mean, that's true.
And I'm just like, I think if you were famous, you should call your friends or anyone before you put anything on the internet.
I don't think celebrities should even run their own Instagrams.
No.
I think, okay, can we also, like, maybe think about the fact, too, like, if she's got a history of doing this, like, on the internet.
Yeah.
At a certain point, like, are we not just gonna be like, is this basically, like, free, like, shock value PR?
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, if you're someone like me that doesn't really follow, like, theater closely, and all of a sudden you're seeing, like, oh, she's flipping out over a poster, you're like, oh, okay, and you go and, like, follow and go down a rabbit hole or whatever, then, you know, you might be like, you know what, okay, maybe I'll go see it.
It's just so not that deep.
It's not.
But I wondered...
You're a star in the film. Like, people are going to see
I'm
your
like, girl,
face.
you're in
Yeah,
Wicked.
don't worry.
I
Yeah.
even know, like, I know what Wicked is, because I remember,
Yeah.
like, was it Idina Menzel? Like, that's how she got her big break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was Elphaba.
She was
Yeah.
Elphaba,
And then
yeah.
Glinda was Kristen Chenoweth.
Mhm.
Okay, see? Okay, I know
See, you
things.
know-
I know
yeah,
things.
there you
I'm
go.
with it.
Yeah.
But, like, I didn't even know that's, like, an iconic Broadway play.
Oh, yeah.
And I know they're, like, doing, like, musicals now are, like, a big thing, even if they weren't, like, originally a play, but you're literally in Wicked.
Yeah. Like, just
That's why I
over
say,
the
like, I think she
poster.
will be a star. I mean, she is a star in
Yeah.
terms of, like, you know, you might have seen her in some things, but, like, theater people really know her, but, like, now I think she's going to be very much more mainstream.
She will, unless she keeps, like, doing shit
I
like
know.
this.
Yeah,
Then
well, because
people are
I
gonna
think,
be like,
too,
"Right."
when, like,
Wow.
theater stuff goes mainstream, the people that get their break with that, like, if you can do theater, you can act in anything.
Yeah.
So
true.
So, speaking of theater kids, if you're a fan of the podcast, you know that Timothee Chalamet is my boy. I cannot explain that little sick Victorian kid. He really gets it. I just want to be his friend. I don't know why. But anyways, so they had a Timothee Chalamet lookalike contest in, I think it was Washington Park in New York City over the weekend. And the thing is, it was literally like a $50 prize. Like, if you saw the posters they put on, like, the, like, not lamps, what do they call it, street poles or whatever. You can tell I don't live in a city. It was literally just like a printed thing of like Timothee Chalamet lookalike concert, $50 for the winner. And it like, or concert. And it like literally overran the park, like hundreds and hundreds of people.
There's a lot of like girls that look like Timothee Chalamet.
Yeah, he has a very girlish figure, you know? And I love it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. But so what's interesting is I just really love the way, like, the New York Times phrased this, and I'm just going to read this whole sentence because I feel like, okay, they said, so this is from the guy who, like, organized it. He said, all we did was hang up posters, but you never know how it's going to go, said the organizer, Anthony Poe, a Jersey City YouTuber with 1.8 million subscribers who made his name by eating an entire tub of cheese balls.
That's way too much information about it.
And he said the day before he hosted a contest for lookalikes of YouTuber Kai Cenat. I don't know. About 50 people showed up. But I just love that, like, New York Times was like, this was hosted by a man who made his name by eating an entire tub of cheese balls. And that's why I'm here to say, like, this whole event is for me.
Yeah.
Because if you've ever seen me with a tub of cheese balls, or if you've ever seen me talk about Timothee Chalamet, I am equally passionate about those two things.
But what's funny is, so Timothee Chalamet showed up to the contest and he like surprised them, and he got obviously like mobbed by fans. But like that's it's just the most Timothee Chalamet thing ever.
That's like his city too.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's very.
And I love that he like
brand.
showed up with fans. He was like, "Hey," like took a couple pictures. He was like, "This is cool," and then he just kind of like went on his way.
Disappeared. Yeah.
Yeah, but it got to the point like I think they arrested a couple of people because like it became
I saw
like
some arrests.
a little bit unruly because there were so
many
many people. It was insane.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
And so now, because of the success of that, I don't know if it's the same person who ran that one, but now they're going to have a Jeremy Allen White lookalike contest.
My gosh.
That I think will be actually I don't know if it'll be tougher. He's just got such a blockhead that I think
Not a blockhead.
I think he's hot, but I think his head is like if he slammed his head into yours, it would probably really hurt. Whereas
Really?
Timothee Chalamet, I think, would just feel like
Jeremy
a little
Allen
bit
White's
like.
also kind of small.
But his skull.
I think slamming your skull into any other person's skull is gonna hurt.
But do you know what I mean?
personally,
Like,
but,
okay.
No, I
imagine-
really, I'm not.
Imagine you're in a
feeling
mosh
this.
pit with Jeremy Allen White and Timothee Chalamet, and
Oh, comparatively, yeah.
yes, like one of them's got like that skull is gonna hurt a little bit more. That dome, is going
I
to make
guess
some
I'm
kind
just
of
not-
contact. You know
Like,
what
I'm
I mean?
not seeing it. He has like a small head. I don't know what you mean by
I guess
big
But
head.
it's
Like,
like it
he's
feels
just-
thick.
You're just, I think, going off the fact that like Jeremy Allen White is objectively more built,
Yeah.
so to speak,
yeah.
and like
Yes.
He's so
Timothy
fine.
Chalamet's got like some sharp corners, I
Yes.
think, and I
Yes.
respect that.
Yes.
And I respect that.
Can you
Look
imagine?
but this is like what people like. I love
That okay, so I
Jeremy
think
Allen White,
that's
so, like,
him as I sent this to you on
Oh,
Instagram
that's true.
earlier
This is him as Bruce Springsteen.
as
Ignore
Bruce
it.
Springsteen, where I love that like for Timothy Chalamet as Bob Dylan, they were like, let's do the haircut, let's do the sunglasses,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like Jeremy Allen White as Bruce Springsteen, they were like, it's
Jacket.
just Jeremy Allen White.
Yeah, with a jacket and a plaid shirt.
But
It's gonna be interesting though.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be as many.
Molly shows up, like,
just to watch.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be as big of a turnout as Timothee Chalamet's one, but I do think it's gonna be really entertaining. I hope Jeremy Allen White shows up. They should do it in Chicago instead of New York City.
Oh, that's
where is
smart.
Jeremy Allen White is from New York.
He is, but he could
New
be
York.
in Chicago filming season 4. You never know.
Sorry, everyone. Yeah, true. But I was curious, like, what lookalike contest do you think you would enter?
I have no idea. Someone tried to tell me I looked like a young Meryl Streep, and I didn't know how to take that because I think I had to do with my
Oh,
nose.
I can actually.
But I was
see
like,
that.
You actually
I like a young Meryl.
She was beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my god, what's that one movie she's in with Goldie Hawn?
Death
Becomes
Oh,
her.
yeah,
she
yeah,
looks
I
great
was
in
like,
that.
yeah, she
Yeah.
looked great in that.
You also remind me of, and this is like a topic we'll talk about next week, but her name is Grace Van Patten, and she stars in Tell Me Lies.
Oh,
You remind me of her.
I've never
She's
seen
stunning.
it, but yeah.
You remind
I
me
know
of her.
what you're talking about.
Yes. I think like so we've talked about yours. Like you, oh God, now I can't remember who's the person I always say that you look like. Oh, what's her face from Gone Girl?
Oh, Rosamund Pike?
Yeah, Rosamund Pike. I could see.
I don't know if you've ever
I
told me
love
that,
her.
but that is. I don't agree with that, but that's such a compliment.
The thing is, I think I have told you this, but I think we've been drunk every time.
The one that I get, literally, I have been stopped and asked, "Do you watch the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, or have you seen Black Mirror?"
So don't kill me, but you just made an expression like just now where I was
I don't
like,
even know what she looks like.
I literally put it on the last out of context post on our Instagram. You do look like her.
There's an actress. Her name is Andre Rice. Is that her name? Andre.
Let's see.
Andre. She's from like the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. She was in the Mean Girls movie musical.
This is what she looks like, Emily.
Oh, I've seen her in... I don't know what I've seen her in, but I know I've
But
seen her in
people
something.
always say I look like her, and specifically from the Spider. She's like a nerd in the Spider-Man movies, and it's just like
to me, it's the smile, but also like you have like similar like hair.
Okay, but I feel like
But I
I've
don't know
also
why.
had that side part, but it was harsher.
hers is harsh.
Definitely listens
I
to
do
New
think
Wave.
you would be like a contender in that, but like I don't understand why you're so offended by it because she's very pretty.
This is no offense to the actress. I think she's pretty, but I just am like, specifically, they always say Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, so I'm like, she looks like a nerd. Are you saying I look like a nerd?
The only so besides Flo from Progressive, you've told me Linda Cardellini,
Yes.
which I very much appreciate.
I would
That's all
love for
got.
us to be Daphne and Velma for Halloween one year.
That would be cute. We just
Or
forget
not even
our
Halloween.
like significant others. Like,
well,
whatever.
okay,
Yeah.
I say this on the podcast.
Poke
We have
and
another
Scooby.
idea.
Pokey Scooby.
Aw, that would be cute. But yeah.
She'd be Scrappy Doo.
But so also like speaking of some men we love, I know you two are like feral for Gladiator 2.
I'm feral for Paul Mescal, straight up.
I'm feral for Pedro Pascal and Joseph Quinn.
How did you all feel about the new Entertainment Weekly cover? I thought it was pure art.
Yes, that was literally
Yeah.
art.
Yes. Like
It was a little cringe though when they did the video of them like standing like next to them.
I thought that was amazing. I loved it. To describe it, it's literally like, so the cover is them with two like Roman or Greek statues or whatever. And first of all, they have the nose and like
they
the
could look
jawline.
more like
Oh
Roman
my
gods.
Yes,
That was
absolutely.
the casting overall
Yeah.
for Gladiator
Yeah.
is so freaking good.
They look like they are actually in that.
Yes.
Like period.
And it like slowly pans where it's like Paul Mescal, the statue, and then Pedro Pascal. God, their names are like, I just can't, it's like a little rhyme for me, a little riddle, and then another statue. And so it like slowly pans between the four of them, and it's like one of them slowly turns their head to the camera, and then the other one does. And I'm not kidding. Like, I'm excited to see it, but I'm not excited like you guys are. But I was like, that gave me chills. I was like, this is art.
I think
Yeah.
that's just also arousal between like the two of them because oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna
excited.
bark into the microphone because I know there's like also family listening, so I'm gonna keep it PG. But
know.
oh my, they're so
I always
talented though
forget that.
too. So that also is like
the cast is amazing.
Yes.
So hot, but also just like amazing actors.
and they're still
Yeah.
bringing back some of the original cast, or at least like one individual.
They're bringing
One or
back
two,
two.
yeah. Which I appreciate because
Wait,
like the
which
first
two?
Gladiator is honestly really good.
Yeah,
I enjoy it a lot.
I
just
watched it recently.
It's definitely
Oh, that was
Whoa.
uncomfortable.
Derek
that was cute. I love that.
Jacobi is one of them.
Okay.
He was the one. I can't remember who his character was, but
They,
he was like.
it's those like ancient
the older
Roman
man.
names like
Yeah.
Atticus, blah.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I can't.
But also,
keep
so
up.
the I don't know, I don't remember her character name,
Maximus
but that
something.
woman, the
That woman?
the woman character, the one who was the Joaquin
sister,
Phoenix's sister,
yeah, okay.
she's coming back. She's like,
Oh, okay.
she's in a relationship with Pedro Pascal apparently,
Ooh.
like her the characters.
Okay.
I'm so excited for this movie. Also, have you seen the
Denzel.
popcorn? Yeah, Denzel.
I love how he's basically like a gun lord, or I don't know
yeah.
what you call it. Like he's
Show me your guns.
I don't know.
So-
Oh my god.
He's so cool. I saw him on. I love watching Graham Norton.
Oh, okay. I do too.
And Paul and Denzel were both on there,
Okay.
and he like Denzel was saying how like great Paul is, and like just like
Was that the
Yeah.
one with Saoirse Ronan?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, because that's another
Oh,
thing to
she
bring
clocked
up.
Oh,
She
yeah.
clocked
quick,
them.
and they all went dead silent. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Paul was really funny. He was just like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for context, actually, what were they talking about?
So they were like basically talking about, I don't know how they got onto the topic, but they were talking about like self-defense and like how you can use the butt of your phone to like jab into someone. And he's
Yeah.
like, they're all joking like, oh, like when you're getting attacked, like the first thing you think of is blah, blah. And she's like trying to like cut in, and it's not until she speaks over them. She's like, girls have to think about that all the time. They went dead silent.
Yeah.
And she's like, am I right, ladies? And like everyone's
Yeah.
clapping, and it's
Yeah.
great. And they were like, oh.
yeah, like Paul's like
Because
true.
Eddie Redmayne.
Eddie Redmayne was
Yeah,
sitting
he
next
was
to her,
also there. And
they're
they're
like,
like,
very awkward, yeah.
Which is like a very
but
true
good for her.
thing.
Like, go.
I love
I
Saoirse
remember
Ronan.
like
Me
one
too.
time James and Chris, like when James still lived here, they ordered McDonald's here at like 11 p.m. and they didn't tell me, and so like someone was knocking at the door. I was freaking out. They weren't responding to my text messages because they weren't here, and when I told them later, I was like, I thought I was gonna be murdered, and they were like, what? And I was
Yeah.
like, I am prepared to be murdered every moment of my life.
Yeah.
Like, and I know I've said, like, on a previous episode that I don't, like, care about my personal safety, but it's also, like, a thing. Like, I'm just, like, as women, you're just always, like, oh,
On the
you're
fence.
constantly
you're
on edge.
yeah, you're just, like, is someone going to
Defense.
attack me?
Mhm.
Am I going to die? Like,
Yeah.
all the time.
Paul wouldn't understand that because he's a gladiator, so
Yeah.
and he's a man.
He's a man gladiator.
He's like a beast though. Like so he like I guess he like really got ripped for this
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
You would have to.
But Pedro Pascal, this man is like almost 50, you know.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's crazy that he can still do what he's doing.
Yeah. And also,
that
I
it's
told
out of
Molly,
age, but-
missed opportunity. Like, I love that Matthew dressed up as a gladiator, but I think you, like, in Beyonce pink, like, early 2000s fashion would make such a good gladiatress.
I love that.
I'm gonna call it that.
Thank
yeah,
you.
I think that's a fun word.
It really-
Yeah.
It didn't exist,
Thank
but
you.
it should have.
It really was rough to get out there.
Right? They didn't have like female gladiators.
Oh, God, no.
Okay, I didn't
They
think
like
so.
maybe they would sacrifice
Yeah.
Yeah.
them, but
Like, if you're not
you know,
having a
Roman
baby, then we
Coliseum.
hate you,
Yeah.
basically.
That's true.
But I think you would make a great gladiator.
Wow. I love the memes when the movie was first like being talked about, like Pedro Pascal, Paul Mescal, and Joseph Quinn was like the three like
Oh, yeah.
gladiators. Yeah, I'm very excited.
The other kid, I say the other kid because he's probably like my age, but not a kid,
The other
who's also
baby.
like the brother of Joseph Quinn's character. He's like in
He's in the White Lotus. Yes,
And I was like, why do I know where he's from?
He's-
And I was like,
he's
oh my god,
really
that's
good.
him.
Who was he in White Lotus?
he was he was Sydney Sweeney's brother. Remember, he was like the creepy one.
In, like,
Oh,
the first
yes,
season.
he did a
He's
good
like, I'm
job.
gonna
Creepy.
stay here
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
join the rowing
He's
team.
good.
Yes.
He's really funny too.
Yeah.
He would. I always think he's like creepy, and I feel bad saying that because like he's not, but like just something about him.
He's just like a
He
dorky,
gives me-
like
yeah.
odd, like little brother.
He gives
Exactly.
me
And I'm
Joaquin
biased because the only
Phoenix
thing I've seen
vibes,
him
but
in
like
is-
at
I've
like
heard
20 years
Joseph
old.
Quinn is like hardcore, like Joaquin Phoenix vibes in this.
Oh my
movie.
gosh!
Oh,
like,
interesting.
The clips of him, I'm like, this man's just like tweaking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I love it.
I love it.
Oh, I'm sure. But I'm very excited to see it, and I know you guys are. I think the Entertainment Weekly promo like really was. I think it was pure art.
It was great. They definitely like knew who their audience was. I think I might be almost more excited for it than Wicked, which is kind of
I'm definitely more excited.
I originally wasn't going to see Wicked on the premise that I think Ariana Grande is not like a girl's girl, but then I was like,
I think she's going to be a good Glinda. Yeah. I do want to say I think she'll be good in it.
I did see a behind the scenes clip of the two of them harmonizing, and like I've never heard like two voices blend together. It was actually insane. It was like two people, one voice. It was wild.
I thought you were gonna join me.
But that's that's part of the reason I would be worried to see Wicked, because like there's already like discourse online where people are like, I need you theater girls to not sing during the movie.
Oh my god, I know.
Let me watch.
I know.
The movie.
If,
do I
I'm paying to listen to them.
My friends and I, shout out friend of the pod, Emily, other Emily, little Emily, and my friend Becca, we're gonna go see it because they're gonna be here like Thanksgiving weekend. And like, it's gonna be a full theater, and if people are singing when like songs come on, I'm not kidding, I'm gonna go full berserk and be like, everyone shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I think that's totally acceptable.
If
like,
bring back
public shame.
Bring
back public shame. Tell people like, you shouldn't be doing that. You should leave it to them.
And I'm absolutely like, I've gotten to that point in my life where like, I guess I'm like a full adult, where like when we saw Longlegs and those those stupid boys were like talking for the first part of the movie. I was like,
they were just being high schoolers, but like it's just like, ugh.
You guys were like, oh, should we say something? I was like, I'm gonna say something.
I was about to
be like, excuse me, boys, shut the fuck up.
Children?
We're watching. I paid $12 for this movie. Mm-hmm. I work for my money. I want to see this movie and not hear you eating your snacks, you idiots.
No, they weren't eating their snack. They were like yelling and laughing, and I'm like, shut up.
It was because they kept passing. I was watching them hardcore. This is probably why I missed part of the movie.
Yeah,
they were like,
it was the beginning.
They all bought like one snack to share between them, and they kept being like, can I have some? And then they were like saying like things that made each other laugh, and I was like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Let me see Nicolas Cage murder this bitch.
I'm getting mad when I think about it, so let's like...
Thank you, Emily, for coming to this episode, talking about One Direction, SNL, Victoria's Secret. We really covered a lot of topics.
I'm a yapper. This was fun.
This was fun.
You came to the right place.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a long episode.
This
if
is a good
made
episode.
It this far, you are either a true fan or Molly's loved one, which is also a true fan. Yeah.
Aww. But come back anytime.
I
would love to come back.
Yes.
Anything Paul Mescal, I'm there.
Yes.
Ooh.
I'm there.
Oh, well, there will be more, so don't worry. You'll be right back in the chair soon.
Probably for the next, like, when does Gladiator, like, November, late November?
22nd or
next month. I was going to say 6 months.
I couldn't handle that,
It feels
Alexa.
like it.
My greatest fear, I actually thought about this. I was like, what if I go to prison in the next, like, few weeks and I miss, like, a bunch of, like, movies coming out?
Molly, that is...
These are thoughts I have.
I love that for you.
I would break out to see Gladiator II.
I feel like you should.
I feel like you could.
Okay.
For sure.
Would you, like, help hide me?
For Gladiator 2, maybe.
And then after you'd be like, okay, you gotta go.
But then I think it would be the perfect opportunity for me to force you to watch something I want you to watch. Okay. I'm breaking you out of prison.
I broke myself out. I'm just hiding at your house.
It's like watch the first 3 episodes of Outlander, or I'm turning you in.
Yeah, or you'll never see Gladiator. So pick your poison there.
Okay.
But anyways, thank you, Emily, for coming, chatting, yapping, laughing, and dissecting. I don't know why I ended on that one, but again, as always, follow us at Poppin In Pod I do it every
Poppin In Podcast.
Poppin In Podcast on Instagram to see our out of context posts, our clips, or participate in the question of the week. Like, subscribe, rate, review. We appreciate all of you listeners, and we'll see you next time. Bye!